have that one at home too.
Is this different?
Yeah,
Looks
it's a little
different.
different. Yeah, the track's a little different. It's just I'll send it down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
Very good. That was more straight up and down.
Okay.
Before it was like always at a weird angle.
Okay. Righty. Captain definitely left here.
Yeah, they keep getting further apart too. Oh yeah.
It's like 3 at a time. Oh wait, I see it. I was going 10, 15.
15, 16 seconds off.
What's up, Brad?
What's
Brad,
up?
how are you?
That's
Right. Got out just in time.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's 7 minutes, Brad.
Oh, I had all free time, but my job's a little different. When you're there to cover a team, you still have a lot of free time, but you cover your team's games, and then they probably practice on their off days. So they might shoot.
No.
They might even have a shoot around. So you're a little bit busier.
Nobody there. Why?
I went out there for meetings for the Athletic, and then I was just fucking. Like there was no reason to do that. Honestly. Other than like, I mean, I covered the NBA for 10 years, and I haven't seen those people in 4. So I just went out there just to see all, and it was good. Like, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Especially good those things, you know, it's like,
Right.
They'll probably
I
have like
landed
15,000
Thursday morning, and I went to the pool.
I mean, the team's
And
playing like
Friday,
shit.
We were in meetings all day.
It's a
for the
Monday.
Athletic.
It's going to be
Saturday,
brutally
I
hot,
actually went to the arena for the first time, and I flew out Saturday
and
night.
they don't draw
So-
to you.
it's just basically one day. Okay.
No,
But
there'll be nobody at the game tonight.
What up, G?
Sit on your water. That's not good.
I was very polite. I didn't say nothing yet.
Oh boy.
Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
It is a Monday edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Guys, did everybody have a great weekend?
Great.
Fantastic, beautiful weather. Jason,
I just got back from Vegas.
no comment on your time in Vegas. He needs to talk like G.
Hey, putt golf, my mom's birthday. She had to come up here and get dusted off by your boy, the 5-time putt golf champ himself, G baby. I got
Are
the
you trash
crown.
talking your mom?
Yes,
right now?
mom, dad, my brothers was there, my sister, and my wife. My wife had to understand that G Bush is like Tiger on a Sunday coming down that back stretch.
Oh, gee,
Come on now.
You off the chain.
Come on
You had
now.
a great weekend. I just did some landscape for like 9 hours. That's all I did. I didn't know you was out there like T. Woods.
9 hours. You
9
can't-
hours.
You got that NBA money. You don't pay somebody to do that
Some
stuff.
NBA money right here, bro.
No landscapers for you?
Listen.
Jeez. By the way, I watched real quick before we're going to get to Deshaun Watson here in just a second. A lot to get to today. Tim Couch is going to be on with us, and who else? I forgot somebody else.
Shawn
Porter. Oh, Showtime Shawn Porter, of course, is going to be on with us today. We'll talk about those boxing matches we referenced last week. But real quick, for like 30 seconds, did anybody else watch the Wimbledon men's final by any chance?
Again, I was in Vegas.
Yeah, no. I'm not much of a tennis guy, but I watched it, and this guy, I can't even think of his name now, the guy who lost to Djokovic in the final.
Nick
this guy-
Kyrgios.
What's his name again?
Nick Kyrgios.
Nick Kyrgios. This guy is like, remember what John McEnroe was back in the day?
Yeah.
Would yell at officials and all that stuff. We have the new John McEnroe. He's actually, like, you think about all the champions in tennis in recent years, like Sampras and, I can't even think of the names of the guys. Nadal, Federer,
Right.
and Djokovic. None of them have any personalities. They're all diet vanilla ice cream. They have no person. This guy is going to become a star, even though he's like 27 already. So he seems old. I don't know. I think he's going to become a star because he yells at the officials. He hits the ball between his legs. He does all kinds of crazy stuff.
Ironic. Bull likes the guy that yells
That
at
yells.
officials.
Yeah.
Right?
If tennis is too uptight, we need some personality. All right, let's get to Deshaun Watson because, guys, the briefs are due today. Not the boxers, but the briefs. That was a serious dad joke right there.
That just hit you, or you've been sitting on that one?
No, I just popped in my head.
Just wait.
You had that one.
No,
Right.
but
his money
and
off.
at first I was like, well, there's nothing that interesting about that because we're not going to learn that much. However, we did because Josina Anderson, again, one of the most plugged-in people in the NFL, had a series of tweets about this morning. Here we go. Post-hearing briefings are due soon this week in the Deshaun Watson proceeding. This morning, a league source said this on the timeline for a result. Quote, we're still looking at a few weeks before we get a decision. It may or may not be before camp. Sue Robinson will take her time. Next one. Here we go. I'm told there are only 4 women currently at issue in the Deshaun Watson proceeding. The NFL concluded not to pursue 8 of the 12 women interviewed. Example, a 5th woman the league tried to pursue but never interviewed her. The league scope is currently limited to 4 per source. League source of the threshold of proof expected to be applied by Sue Robinson in review of the Deshaun Watson case. Quote, the NFL has the burden of proof and it is by the preponderance of evidence and there is no dispute about that. There is precedent in case law that establishes it. And finally, preponderance of the evidence is one type of evidentiary standard used in a burden of proof analysis. Under this standard, burden of proof is met when the party with the burden convinces the fact finder that there is a greater than 50% chance that the claim is true, according to Cornell law. A lot of things to unpack here, guys. One of the things that really stood out to me, I don't know if anybody else picked up on this really, but a lot has been made about the number, right? It's been 24, it's 25, 26. Some people are using the number 66 or whatever it is, the amount of different women he went to for a massage. But here's the interesting thing. If the NFL is only looking really now at 4 cases, well, that's, for earlier, some of the reaction from people that wanted a long suspension was, it's 20 whatever. You can't compare to Ben Roethlisberger. His was only 3. Well, now, Deshaun Watson is only 4. Now, again, if he did bad things to those women, it doesn't mean that's acceptable because it's only 4. But I don't think we can really look at the 20-something or whatever, the 60-something. To me, it's 4, and I think that's a big difference. You guys, what do you think?
Well, first of all, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, so
Yeah.
I'm going to be clear that I was not on the timeline that the public was on with Sue Robinson.
And she's not either,
Sue
obviously.
Robinson's disposition of this case. I mean, typically the briefs are basically your last chance for each side to make its points across. Now, here in the case, as I think that Sue Robinson has heard, she has an opinion. Now, she will use these briefs to kind of justify or give you a last-ditch effort to see what is what. But I think that she's going to take her time with this, and it probably is, to me, it's going to come sometime after the camp opens up. It's not on this timeline. And I would tell you another thing: the preponderance of evidence and the proof and the burden of proof that is on the NFL is sincerely hampered by the fact that they could not get a true bill in Texas. Now, I want to see them work around this because this is what the NFLPA is sitting on. And until that occurs, right, because I'm not here to say, I don't know what happened to these 4. These are probably the same 4 that have not settled the civil case. Right?
Yeah.
And so, but at the time of where we are right now, she's got a real duty here to figure out what is going on here. And I don't think that the NFL is going to be pleased with the way she's going to go on this, because if she relies on what was presented and the preponderance of evidence that was there, that was at the fact with no coercion, no force, it's going to be a problem for the NFL.
The Browns were expecting something by the start of training camp.
Right.
So this is going to be a really difficult situation for them to maneuver if they don't have a decision by the start of training camp. Who's taking your snaps at quarterback, the first-team quarterback?
I think he's got to, right?
I actually think you have to count on some sort of suspension. Well, I think you probably split them because you know some sort of suspension is likely coming. So you got to get Jacoby Brissett ready to go. Deshaun did have all of the OTA snaps, so he has at least some familiarity with the offense. But the larger point is, I think the Browns, all since they made the trade, have worked under the belief that they would know by day 1 at training camp what their future is. And as the closer we get to that, clearly that is not necessarily true. Yeah. So that's going to be a difficult situation for them to navigate. In terms of the length of the suspension, you know, I still think I've been in the camp all along 6'8". I've said that from day 1. I still believe that to be true. I know I was talking to someone over the weekend who felt like, man, the NFL doesn't do what's right or what's fair. They do what looks best for the NFL, and they're very concerned with optics. So there are still people concerned with that. But in terms of sort of, because I've said all along, if Roger wants a year, he's going to get a year because he's just going to change Sue's ruling. And I talked to a couple people who were like, yeah, but like this is what he wanted. Roger wanted this where the heat is off of him. Yeah. And in terms of coming up with these rulings.
So did he want the heat off, or did he want the optics?
Because
this is probably the optics, right?
Yeah.
Because this thing's gonna go where it goes. Now I just go back to it, Jason. Just this, that the optics on it are uncomfortable. They've been uncomfortable for everybody from the beginning.
Yes.
Right. And so I do not think you take a federal judge and put her in a position where she has to do any arbitration, because anybody has done any arbitration, which obviously the NFL has never done any arbitration, because it never goes as quick as you want it to go. Yeah. Right. It always takes some time. And so if that be the case, it could be she's not on the timeline of the Browns training camp. She's not on the timeline of who's going to be the first-string quarterback.
Yeah, yeah.
Because she's here sitting the presider of what the facts are, right? And so the facts may shake down. So this may be a minute before they figure out who is going to be the one.
Gee.
Y'all hear that? That's silence. See, a couple weeks ago, people was jumping off the roof with 66. This thing got multiplied to 66 and indefinite. See, but this is difference between metaphors and real rap. When you're doing real rap in front of a judge, it don't matter about the public appeal or public perception. You got to sit in there, and I'm glad Josina put down right in writing what the burden of proof is. Putting parameters on this thing. See, in public, you can just say, oh, the allegations, and make it look crazy, and then people will settle. His job, Busby's job, was to get those 20 settlements. He got what he deserved, and he got what he wanted. He earned them, right? But then he came back and said, well, listen, we never said anything about coercion. That was never a thing. We never put that in our argument. Now the NFL has a problem. You have to prove it. Now we heard last week it was 5 people, shaved down to 4. Now, if we are sitting here and we're judging engagement, you could tell the way the tea leaves are swinging a little bit at the end of the day, because there's not so many radio and television hosts jumping off the roof talking about indefinite. Everybody quiet. They waiting on Mr. Florio. Hey, Florio, go ahead, tell us what we doing, how this thing gonna go. Y'all quiet right now.
Yeah.
Everybody, people ain't leading with this at the top of the show. People like, well, we got Baker news. We can get to that. See? It's a difference when you got to go under oath and you got to prove something to somebody who actually has some law type, acumen. And this is the real game right now.
G, to your point, and something all of you guys kind of referenced some of this. This is fascinating, and I don't know if the league wants this or not, but every other suspension in this vein, right, of hitting a woman or sexual misconduct or whatever, have all been done by the league and have been judged, as you said, Jason, by essentially emotion, right? The penalty is, what do we feel we have to penalize? Doesn't matter what the facts are. The penalty is, what do we have? How long do we have to suspend this player to not get crushed by the media or get crushed by the fans, whatever? And Sue Robinson, who, by the way, I mistakenly said last week that Sue Robinson was a black woman, which she is not. She is a white woman, and I wanted to correct that because...
Duly corrected. There you go.
But what Sue Robinson is doing, and I don't know if the league was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize this was happening, but I assume they did, is she is... like we would always say, the argument would always be, and G's brought this up a lot, well, what about the owners? And we would be like, well, it sucks. The owners should be penalized. But this is all about well, now this is about, or we would always say, well, you don't have to, it's not a court of law. Well, now it is a court of law to some degree, right? Now it's not, you're right, the league and Commissioner Goodell could overstep what she does. But with all that's gone on with this case, if they Bigfoot her, I think they will look terrible. I think there's a good chance the league will let lie whatever she does. And she is not treating this as a PR stunt. She is treating this as a true legal case, which is why the timeline, as you suggested, Brad, is way different from what the rest of us thought it was going to be.
She has a judicial reputation that she has earned over a career of a lifetime of work, right? From being a lawyer to becoming a judge, and now in the position where she gets to adjudicate a case. And I'll just say this. So first of all, the whole thing is a mess.
Oh, big time.
It's a mess, right? And how it plays out is going how it plays out. But I would just tell you this. I'm a big soccer fan, right? I love the English Premier League, right? And they have a rule in the English Premier League that they put all their players and coaches under. It's called basically, if you bring the league into disrepute,
right,
this is when they can do the judgment. If the NFL had that rule, there would be no question, because the league has been put in disrepute from this whole thing, right? They'll be able to act on it right then and there, but they don't. We go another route, and now the route is one way, but some in the system don't like the way the route goes, right? If we're talking about just the facts here, as opposed to being in the league where it's just you brought the league under disrepute, right?
Right.
The facts are leading people to a different place than they thought it could be. So you don't know how it's going to go, right?
That's
no
right.
one knows how this thing is going to shake, Jason.
And to that point, just one thing, I think I mentioned this when I was in previously, but when we had Rusty Harden on, when I was in 92.3 and we had Rusty on the show, he said in his mind, now he's Deshaun's attorney, he said in his mind only 2 of the original 22 cases involved the personal conduct policy. And so obviously the NFL is talking to 4. He said 2. I don't know how these align.
Right.
But that has always stuck in my head.
Right.
Now that's just his opinion, and Judge Robinson certainly could feel differently. But he said of all of these cases and all of the allegations, 2 of them are really at the heart of the NFL's personal conduct
Which is
policy.
why we know he's going to get at least some suspension, because even his attorney, well, I guess we don't know for sure, but I'm assuming because his attorney admitted, as I've referenced before too, and you just referenced now, that he did violate the conduct policy.
Well, I mean, I want to be clear. Rusty said 2 of the cases were in question.
Oh,
He
okay.
wasn't, you know what I mean?
He didn't
wasn't
say he
saying,
definitely violated.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
fair
just
point.
saying
That's a
2
big
of them,
distinction, yeah.
Yeah, 2 of them could be under
Right.
depending on which way it goes.
And you know what I'm gonna tell you right now, people see, I've been outspoken against a lot of it, but I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna go against it right now. When she makes her ruling, I'm gonna stick by it. I'm standing by it. You know, whatever it is, whatever. Because at the end of the day, all we've been saying is you just want an opportunity to present your case to an impartial person.
Right.
She's impartial. They collectively bargained it. And if he gets whatever he gets, you ain't going to hear nothing from G. Bush. Don't look for the video. It is what it is. He going to live with that, and we're going to keep it moving. But this is what we want. And the league should have that same mentality.
Yes.
If we gonna go, if you brought her in here to do a job, let the woman do her job.
You got to your point, and this is what they say in the street. You go on the street anywhere, this is what they're saying. They just want some fairness here. You've got two biased parties, right? You have a biased party that's on Deshaun Watson's camp, in his camp, right? You've got the biased party from the NFL in their camp, right? Then you bring a third party, an independent arbiter to this, to the facts, right? You present your case, Bull. Jason presents his case here.
Yeah.
This independent arbiter should be the decider of fact, and we should be able to live with this fact.
That's right.
Now, I'm going to have a real problem, right, at the end, if the decider of fact, who gave you an opportunity to make your case, gave you a chance to make your case, says, I'm going this way with it, right, because I'm independent. And then you say, nah, I don't like that.
Then the whole thing looks like a sham.
It's a sham.
Right. That's a joke. That can't. I think that's. You talk about bad PR for the league. I think that's bad PR. I mean, we've said, all of us, many times, that the only people that know the facts, for sure, are Watson and the women. But Judge Robinson knows as many facts, or as she knows as much as anybody. Certainly not more than us.
Right.
And the fans, and the Players Association, and Rusty Harden, and the league officials. She is the most qualified person at this juncture to rule. And if the league oversteps her because they feel like, well, even though she has as much facts as possible, it still looks bad for PR, then you just wasted the time of everybody. That would look really bad. I hope they don't do that.
And you eroded your own credibility.
100%.
You have none.
100%.
At that point, we all know where we stand with the NFL at that point.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. There's still, obviously, we'll continue to follow the story. We'll see if the news comes out, and let's get to this other football story. A little on the field stuff. Chris Collinsworth. You guys like Chris Collinsworth?
I think he's fantastic.
I like. He's grown on me a lot over the years.
I think he's the best in
You
the
don't like him?
business.
He okay.
Is he because he was a Bengal, or are you just?
I just think some of his takes not on. I just don't, some of it's okay, but he's just okay.
I agree.
I mean, he's not the czar of what's going on here.
Everybody loves Collinsworth. My beef with him is he's a good analyst, but sometimes he'll make a judgment on a player or a game like real early in the game that I think he's too prisoner of the moment. But anyway, Collinsworth made a list, his 5 best head coach quarterback combos, and here we go. All right, number 5, Todd Bowles and Tom Brady. Okay. Number 4, Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, the Rams. Obviously, the first one's the Buccaneers. Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, Packers. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen with the Bills. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs. Obviously, Kevin Stefanski, Deshaun Watson not on the list. Anybody think they should be? Because
They haven't taken a snap yet.
No, we haven't seen it.
how could they be?
But we haven't seen it, but I've looked at some of that list. Bring that list back up.
Brad, bring it up. Bring it back up.
Bring that list back up.
Let's go.
In classic Brad Sellers fashion.
Right.
Bring it back.
Bring it
Bring
back.
it back.
Bring
Bring
it
it
back.
back.
Bring it back. Because here, Todd Bowles and Tom Brady.
I mean, Tom Brady's carrying the water.
What?
On that.
Yeah.
What are we talking about it?
That's not behind me. That's not behind me. I didn't
Hold on,
see
let
that.
me stop here. Hold on, let me stop here. Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, the shenanigans going on up in Green Bay? Are you serious?
So that's what's funny, Brad. If you look at the list, so Tom obviously is the reason for 5. I would say McVay's the reason for 4.
Yes.
I don't know that that's fair. I mean,
I think
Matthew Stafford's a hell of a quarterback.
He's very good. He's not in the class
It's not
of these
like,
other guys.
but it's not like Brady and Bowles.
Here,
I mean,
Or
McVay and Stafford go to 1. Andy Reid, Mahomes, the epitome of failure. That's what that is.
I don't know about
I think
that.
that's prisoner
That's
of
too
the
harsh.
moment.
They won a Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
What's that?
They won a Super Bowl. You can't call them the epitome of
that
failure.
meltdown last year.
Yeah.
That
Now
meltdown.
you're prisoner of the moment. Now you're being
No,
prisoner
saying
of the
that's
moment.
prisoner of the
No,
moment.
but I follow Andy Reid the days in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Them same meltdowns.
He has a thing. Andy Reid
That's some
Has had some bad
has for as many wins as he's gotten. I mean, he was the 4 NFC Championship games,
on
right?
now.
And made a Super Bowl, right? So it's like he should at least have 3. Like I think Aaron Rodgers should have 1 more, right? Like with the talent
Yeah,
level.
people looking at him sideways now too.
I
like,
don't understand how LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are ahead of McVay and Stafford. That doesn't make any sense.
I think the job that Stafford and McVay did last year.
That was crazy.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't
unbelievable.
have a problem with the Chiefs being number 1. I wouldn't have a problem with the Rams being number 1. The Rams should be ahead of the Packers. I don't understand. Because the gap between McVay and what's his name, the Packers coach, LaFleur is much bigger than the gap between Rodgers and
How
Stafford.
how can Reid and Mahomes be number 1 in this? Nobody's bothered by this meltdown last year. Am I the
one
only?
game,
No,
yeah.
it's not one game.
It is.
Go back
Well,
and
it is
check,
for Mahomes.
Check
No, for Mahomes,
Andy
it's one
Reid,
game.
Andy Reid's the same guy.
Yeah, but if you're starting if you put every player into the draft in the NFL,
Yeah.
Mahomes would go first.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no
Okay.
That's why he's.
There's no.
that's why.
Hold on. Now I will say this: that
Although I still take Joe
Josh Allen thing is getting very close. And I'll say this: they did get dominated against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That offense looked terrible against Tampa Bay. It was horrible.
Yes.
Well, where is Cincinnati on this list?
Yeah, Cincinnati's coach is not very good. And I'm a Bengals fan.
You got
He's
to
not a good coach.
you got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
You just
he's
don't
not-
walk. You just don't walk to a championship.
No, but
I don't know. I
but
don't know anybody that
I
does
think
that.
he's an average coach.
I mean, how many people? You can look at it. Okay, well, you bring the list back up. In the words of bring that remix back up. We invented
Bring
the
that
remix.
right back.
If Stefanski got a coach of the year, and if you want to look at Deshaun Watson's numbers, he's been a multiple-time Pro Bowler. So Todd Bowles ain't never been no coach of the year. I don't even think it has.
Yeah, but Tom Brady.
Has McDermott won a coach of the year?
I
think McDermott did win Coach of the Year. I'll double check, but I do think he
Check that,
But I
but you
can't.
got those two
Watson
together.
hasn't even. Watson hasn't played.
And we have no
yet.
idea
I
how many
can't-
snaps he's even going to take this year.
Yeah, I don't.
The question though is, let's put it in this context.
Yeah.
What's the ceiling for Watson and Stefanski
Top
as a
5.
combo? Could they be top
they're
5?
top 5.
Could they be top 3? Could they be 1? Where do you guys see the
They could
ceiling
be
for
1.
that?
I think
Depends on how far they go.
It's so subjective.
Yeah, sure.
In terms of I like this one better than that one, but I think absolutely it has
The
the potential
quarterback to
be
me
top
is
5.
more important than the coach. I mean,
Sure.
we
just that's proven by that list we just saw.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't say that. I say there's equal culpability on both sides because you have to have one is an on-field manager. Someone has to have vision from the sideline and say, this is what we need.
Would you rather have a great coach and a crappy quarterback, or a crappy coach and a great quarterback?
I'd rather have probably a.
Give me
If I had to take the two, I'm going to take the quarterback because the coaches can be suspect. But when the two are paired together,
then it's a
that
perfect
is
situation.
the
The
scenario.
quarterback can save the coach. The quarterback can save the play call.
But how many
Right.
times
Play on the
how many times has a player thought they could outdo the coach, and only to find out that they weren't really any good without the coach? You can go to any sport, and you can always find
Well,
that.
Tom Brady's pretty damn good
I
without
don't-
Belichick.
yeah, I mean, look at Drew Brees. When New Orleans was an absolute disaster of a franchise, Drew
Right.
Brees shows up, and all of a sudden, everything's great.
This is why McVay and Kyle Shanahan is up there for me too. When you look at McVay, think about this, man. He had Jared Goff in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And we thought he was crazy for giving me. And then
There was a time people thought golf was elite.
right? And they got the bag too. And think about it. Think how many people didn't even think Stafford was that good because he was in Detroit.
Yeah, 'cause
he
he
was
was
like,
Detroit.
"You're gonna get Stafford out of all these people," and he not only took Stafford, but then he resurrected the ghost of Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
And just was like, yeah, we'll bring. Because hold on, how many people would say we're not bringing that type of headache in? We don't want no parts of that.
Yeah.
We rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
We got
But
our
then again,
receivers.
Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles and then got fired 2 years later.
But gee, was Odell Beckham really? Was he really? Was it him? Was it his problem or was it our problem?
I think it was our problem.
Okay.
Well, I don't think that's totally fair.
I think
you got to give Odell some blame.
I think Odell quit on them. I've said that.
I
from
think
day
Odell
one.
gets some blame.
I guess if nobody was using me and I was an elite talent, I guess I would be like, what's the problem
I
here?
think every
I'd be
receiver,
questioning the moves too.
given the production, we all know every top 10 receiver. I mean, look, come on. Tyreek Hill is in Miami now.
Yeah. He ain't gonna put up the same numbers.
He's not putting up them same type numbers.
No.
And so I think you get to a point where you think Odell Beckham go lose his mind if he ain't getting the ball. We just knew that. But I think this year, for guys on a lighter note, is that we're gonna find out what Kevin Stefanski is this year.
Gee, don't they all lose their mind? I'm watching Harden lose his mind, Durant lose his mind, Kyrie Irving lose his mind. It's just go to any other sport and lose. They all lose their mind when they don't get involved.
Because you're gonna get a chance to see Stefanski with a second-tier quarterback. How many games can you stay afloat? How hard do the guys play? And how well do you acclimate when you get Deshaun Watson? Are we gonna be sitting here saying, well, why are we running that? This don't look right. We're gonna find out a bunch about Kevin Stefanski.
Because Cleveland fans want the bag.
Yeah.
They want the bag now. They're like, playoff. First round play, we want the bag.
I thought the job Kevin did during the COVID year was sensational.
Yes.
With no
Yeah.
OTAs, no extra practices. Basically, he had to install his entire system on Zoom.
Yeah.
I thought he was phenomenal. This could be his most difficult coaching job yet.
Yes.
Just because of there's healing that has to be done within the locker room.
Yeah.
Regardless of the damage that Baker did, or maybe there's people who are uncomfortable with Deshaun. I don't know that. I'm just saying there's 53 guys in there. I'm guessing at least one or two of them are uncomfortable with where things have been.
There's no question.
So there's healing that has to take place. You have to navigate. We just talked about he may not know who his quarterback, week one quarterback is day one of training camp.
He may not know before the preseason starts. It's possible.
So you have to get Jacoby Brissett ready to go. I mean, not only do you have to get one quarterback ready to go, you have to get two new quarterbacks to your system up to speed and ready to go. This could easily be his most difficult coaching job.
There's a healthy balance that's required between player and coach that has to be out there for any organization to go for. I'm reminded, Bull, of the New York Knicks when Pat Riley was the coach of the New York Knicks. Pat wrote a book called Born to Coach, right? And the people in New York just call it this, born to overcoach. That's what they used to say about Pat Riley, right? Because sometimes even the coaches, you start drinking your own Kool-Aid thinking that you're really the one getting it done. Like, you're not. It's a little of what you do, it's a little of what they do, and it's the management of everyone, the management style of everyone to make sure that everybody's doing their part.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking that you carrying the water for everybody,
you get yourself in trouble.
Not gonna work.
All right, we'll blow off the offensive line topic. Let's go to good bet, bad bet, guys.
We'll do good bet, bad bet real quick, and then we got Tim Couch coming up.
Good.
We'll talk offensive linemen tomorrow with quarterbacks because ESPN just released their rankings of the top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 offensive linemen, and the Browns are on both lists.
Did
So
you
let's
guys
do
see
good
that,
bet,
the top
bad
10 list
bet
on
real
ESPN,
quick,
by the way?
Steve.
We'll get to it tomorrow.
Yes.
Fast forward
Mike,
to
don't put me up
37
unless I
here.
did good last week.
Okay, here we go.
Brad finally won a game. He
Wow,
won
the
on
loser
Friday,
streak is
so he is
over.
now
Look at this.
1-11 in his last 12
creeping.
games.
Looking like the Timberwolves over there.
All right.
We are close to the top here.
So I'm
62
one up
wins,
on
61
G,
and
2
60.
up on J.
And today's bets. Let's go to the first one, Steve.
Okay, here we
Guardians
go.
getting a run and a half against the White Sox in a divisional matchup tonight. G. Bush,
You're the
you
only
went bad. Jay
I mean,
also went good for the record.
We should have all been bad because the Guardians have been awful, but they're due to eventually win a game here. But you don't think so?
Nah, man, I guess the White Sox. This is the Kansas City Royals series just turned my whole situation upside down. No, I don't know if I could pick them for a while. They got to have to get on like an 8-game win streak.
Last week, as bad as it gets, losing 6 of 7 to the Tigers and Royals.
It's tough. That's tough.
And outside of that one game Saturday when they scored, I think 13, their offense has been hideous for 3 weeks.
They're a young team. It's
This is
162.
it. The whole.
This is-
If you look at the whole season,
This is-
huge peaks, huge valleys.
right, and that's the way it's going to be.
All right, game 2.
Game 2, under 9 runs in the Guardians White Sox game tonight. Brad, you're the lone. Well, you and Jay actually. Jay was bad too, but
Well,
You think they're
saying
gonna score a lot
they're
of
going
runs in this
over.
game?
Well, I'm listen, I got to get back in the game. I'm like Vegas. I'm taking long shots.
All right, there you go. Fair enough.
I'll be
And
clear
the
with the
last
people.
one. The last one. Over 2.5 total home runs. This was a real even split because Jay
Brad's
went
alone
good
again.
too, but not feeling the power tonight.
3 home runs.
White Sox hit a lot of home runs.
Well, total, both teams.
Quantrill keeps the ball down. I don't think he's
Take
giving
the
up.
dice and roll them.
Yeah, you got to give it a shot.
Come
All
on, I
right.
got to get a shot.
That's
All right,
good,
let's
bad
bring
bet.
in Tim Couch now. And when anyone joins us on UCSS, they join us via the Gridiron Guys hotline. Looking for a local roofer you can trust? Family owned since 2003, the Gridiron Guys have grown to become Northeast Ohio's top-rated roofers. They exemplify quality work practices and are a valued resource for homeowners and offer a 10-year workmanship warranty. Call 330-753-7967 today for a free estimate or roof inspection. Tim, how's your
forgot
roof,
the
man?
jingle. You didn't
You got
get
any
the
roofing
jingle.
issues?
Grid.
I got no roofing issues right now. I'm good.
My bad.
But if you do, we know who to call. Tim, thanks for joining us as always, man. We missed you last week.
Absolutely. It's good to be with you guys again this week.
Yeah,
I see
Tim,
Jay's not here today. Where's Jay at?
we kicked him the hell out.
Probably on some,
We had enough
Kicked
of
him out.
hey, probably on some boat by a
One last
river,
day-
by a
one last
river in
day on his
Lexington,
boat.
probably.
Yeah. He's been on vacation for a week.
He's Juan Ponce de Leon.
Hey, Tim, by the way,
Sailing the
I
Cincinnati
think of this
River.
every time now because Gridiron Guys reminds me of the movie Gridiron Gang. So I will ask you, what is your favorite football movie of all time? Do you have one?
Ooh, favorite football movie. That's a good one. Probably The Program. Remember The Program?
Of course. Great.
Back in the day, yeah, probably The Program. I think that was a good one. There's a lot of good ones to choose from, though, but I'd probably go with The Program.
It's appropriate because James Caan was the coach. He just recently passed away.
That's right,
I'm actually going to talk about that in my final take later. But okay, yeah. When you heard the news of the Baker trade last week, Tim, what was your first reaction to that?
I was happy for Baker and happy for the Browns that they're both just finally, got this thing going. They parted ways and they found a place for Baker. But for Baker personally, I think it's probably not a great situation for him. He's in a much better situation in Cleveland, in my opinion, with the talent around him. They really struggle on the offensive line in Carolina. I know they addressed that in the draft this year, but Baker is used to having a great offensive line and great running backs and a lot of support around him. He's not going to have the talent level in Carolina that he had in Cleveland. So it's going to be a lot on him, and I just hope he's healthy and ready to go.
And Tim, sort of following up on that point, he's also walking into a situation where the coach is on the hot seat and could be the first one
Right.
fired. And so, I've been really hard on Baker, and I was happy to see him leave. But I think he does have an argument when you talk about 4 head coaches his first 3 years, all the different coordinators and everything else. The situation in Carolina is just as volatile as it was in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think so. He's been through a lot in his career, and his first 4 years, like you mentioned, several head coaches, new systems, injuries, he's been through a lot. He's had a lot of ups and downs. I think that's, probably the biggest reason for his inconsistency in his play. We've seen him play at a very high level, like he played at his rookie year, and the year they went to the playoffs. Then we've seen him play at a really low level, like last year. So it's, I think a lot of that has to do with, like I said, the injuries and, the changes within the offense and in the system and, things like that. So, but he's walking into a tough situation in Carolina as well. So it's going to be, and, he's going to have a battle. He's also, Sam Darnold's there, who was a number 3 pick in that draft where Baker went number 1. So it's not like Sam Darnold can't play at all. So he's going to have to beat him out, first of all, and learn that system really quickly and try to get out on the field. And I hope him nothing but the best. I'd like to see him, get his career back on track and get back to the level he played at, the year they went to the playoffs a couple of years ago.
That's why I like Tim. He's the ultimate politician, just a constant answer here. So, Tim, let's get down to the weeds on this thing. What about when you're a player, you get shipped somewhere, you walk into the door and say, maybe the thing I had behind me was better than the thing I have in front of me. And then you have to realize, how do I make it here, right? Because these guys are not as good as the guys I had. Talk about that, Tim.
That's gonna be tough, man. You feel like you won out of Cleveland really bad, and you've kind of burned that bridge, with the organization, and both sides have said a lot of things about each other, and now you walk into a situation where you're like, hey, this isn't what I asked for. I didn't want to go to a worse situation. I wanted somewhere I could go and have as much, at least the same amount of talent around me, if not more. But Baker is just kind of going to have to take a step back as far as the level of talent that's going to be around him, and it's going to be a major adjustment for him. And like I said, it's going to be in a quarterback battle with Sam Darnold, who's already been there for a season, who knows the offense, who knows the system. It's tough to walk in there and beat out a guy, who knows the system already. Who you're behind the 8 ball on that situation, and you're learning your teammates, you're learning a new playbook, you're trying to fit into a new locker room and a new organization. So there's just a lot of movement. It'll be a tough situation for Baker for sure.
Hey, Tim, how about this, though? How shrewd was the Browns' move to be able to shred the contract, get Carolina to pay $5 million, then to pay 10, get a credit back of $3.5 million.
I lost some volume.
So a net of $6.5 million to the Browns.
I don't think Tim can hear us. Tim, you can't hear us?
I can't hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Can't hear us. You want to take him down for a sec, guys?
We'll figure that out.
Okay.
If you guys want to just keep talking, we'll get back to Tim for 1 sec.
Jason, to the shrewdness and G to the shrewdness of it. So the Browns are in this thing for a net $6.5 million, basically.
I thought it was 10.
Well,
but
10, but he's got $3.5 million he converted from salary to incentives, right? So if he doesn't hit those,
that doesn't come out of the 10.
No, but I'm
They
saying
still got to pay 10.
But I'm saying even with the 10 here, right? Because here they were sitting at almost $19 million, right
yes.
here, and they unloaded a guy, right, that the league had just devalued. I mean, you weren't gonna get much but chicken bones for him anyway, right? And so for them to be able to walk away from Baker, put him in a position where I think things are done intentionally. They didn't send him to the best team out here. We're gonna send you where you're gonna star.
Well, they sent him to the only place that would take him.
Well, here,
because I agree with I agree with the premise of what you're saying. Because that was the point I made. I think I said this before with when Kyrie wanted out. Send him to Sacramento or Detroit. Don't send him to Boston.
Right.
But in this instance, I think Carolina was the only team that would take him.
So besides them straight up releasing him, and they weren't going to do that.
No.
And I don't think Carolina has a terrible offense. Their offensive line, we're not sure. It's definitely not as good as the Browns. They did address it this offseason. But when you deal with rookie offensive linemen, you never know if they're any good. Their skill position talent, if McCaffrey's healthy, is not bad. I mean, McCaffrey we know is great. He's just been injured a lot the last 2 years. And their wide receiver group is not really any worse than our wide receiver group, top to bottom, I don't think.
But what they're going to understand very quickly is, see, a lot of people still think of Baker Mayfield as that gunslinger. They think of him as the dude that's at Oklahoma that is running around and throwing the ball all around the park. That ain't Baker Mayfield, man. If you're going to play with Baker Mayfield, you got to have some strict guardrails. You can't be sending them up to the line of scrimmage with 3 plays, telling him to diagnose and get people in the right. That's not him. You need to run the ball. And I don't know if they understand the level of play action you're going to have to do, the level,
out of the pocket.
Get them out. And the routes, you can't just be running 4 verts either. That's not a thing. Baker always, to me, not just on from the standpoint of how good he is as far as talent-wise, physically, Baker, to me, got fooled way too much. He would get fooled on some of these coverages, and then you're just like, no, you can't. Why are your eyes looking over there? You can't do that. And he would get fooled on some of these plays, and I think Carolina's going to figure it out really quickly. We think that Sam Darnold is automatically going to take that L. I'm going to ask Tim when he comes back, which is more difficult? Is it more difficult being the guy that's already there and you playing for your job, or is it easier being the guy coming in playing freer and saying, I'm going to just let it rip?
And to your point, G, in terms of Baker's abilities and what he does well, it's why I always was baffled by all the excuse made by the injuries. Yeah, he had an injury. A lot of guys have injuries. It was a non-throwing arm. But a lot of the mistakes he makes are not being able to diagnose the defense, making a poor decision of where to throw the ball. Those things, or maybe even thinking he's better than he is. I think that's always been a problem, is that he thinks he's better than he is, and I think that hurts him.
I had 2 former, Tim's not one of them, but I had 2 former NFL quarterbacks tell me last year he thinks he's Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, right, that's crazy.
And he's not. And Trent Dilfer, who wasn't part of those 2, but is another former quarterback, was terrific in saying, just run what's called in front of you, because Kevin's offense stacks plays. First down leads to second, leads to third. If you screw up first down, you've now put them in jeopardy on second down, because it was supposed to be 2nd and 6, and now we're 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 12.
Well, he's not a paint by numbers. He doesn't think like this. He's not a paint by numbers guy saying, okay, let me get to check 1 to get to check 2. No, he's a guy that thinks he can make plays. This is not Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma with the Sooners. This is not this guy. The first problem with Baker Mayfield is behind the center is this: he's too little. He can't see anything, right? How many times he get these balls batted down, right? And you have to get him outside the pocket just so he can see. That is a freaking problem, right?
So, along those lines, I had numbers in 2020, right, where he was terrific rolling left. He was the best quarterback in the league when you did exactly that. You move the pocket, get him out of the pocket, roll him left. He was more comfortable going left than right. His numbers were terrific. Well, guess what? The NFL has access to those numbers. And they took that away.
Right.
And I asked Kevin Stefanski multiple times last year, why is he not going left? Are you protecting the shoulder, or is it what defenses are taking away? And Kevin very carefully said, It's not the shoulder. The shoulder is fine. So what does that tell you? It tells you the defenses were taking it away. You spread the guys out on the line a little bit more. You take away the edges, and theoretically it should create things inside. It wasn't the case with the Browns. But more importantly, to your point about size, go back. We put a package together when I was filling in for Bruce Drennan on his show. We put a package together of how many times Baker was high from the pocket. Every throw down the field from the pocket was 4 and 5 yards high on these receivers.
Why?
Because
he can't see.
Because he had to get it high to get it over their heads, and then it sailed on them.
Everybody wants him to imitate the way Drew Brees throws. He's not Drew Brees. And here's the thing, guys. And I've said this before. Whenever somebody tries to make an argument for maybe Baker could be an elite quarterback, the people that at this point there's not that many people left to think that, but there were more, right? And I think about this and I say, what is the elite trait that Baker has as a quarterback? Because I could point to all the great quarterbacks in the league, and there's at least one part of their game that's elite.
If not two.
If not two, right. Many of those guys, two or more even, right? Baker, and I think people thought it would be his accuracy, but he is not accurate.
He's not accurate.
He's not accurate. His arm is good. I mean, he's got a good arm.
I was going to say arm strength.
I don't think
if I
he's
have
elite.
to give him one, I don't know if it's elite. It's probably not Josh Allen.
No,
But
because
it's
everybody who's got bad arm strength in the NFL.
Well, there are some.
Not
There are
many,
some.
though. I mean, he's got a perfectly fine. Like that's the one category where I'd say he's better. He's like above average, or fine. But he's not elite. He's not a good athlete.
But for his arm strength, right?
Yeah.
And I think he can sling the ball. The problem is the conditions have to be right for him to be
Perfect.
Able to
They have to
sling
not
it.
just be right. They got to be perfect.
Listen, and so he's not a guy that could thread between you and G right through this little honey and get this in here, right? And for you to be able to do that, first of all, you have to. I'm gonna just tell you, in basketball, I hate little guards. I just do, right? I like big guards because they can see. They can do multiple things. They can cover up for size helps counteract some mistakes here. And so in his case here, I mean, I just watched last year after year. I mean, game after game, balls being batted down. He can't see, and I'm like, we can't roll you out here. It's a freaking problem.
If you look at the total of 4 years, he's thrown his second most picks. He's had the most turnovers. He's near the bottom in accuracy. In terms of athleticism, he's amongst the worst quarterbacks in the league. He's in the bottom. Outside of arm talent, arm strength, I guess, he's not only, he's in the bottom of all
I think we got Tim.
Yeah, because I want to ask Tim about this size.
We got Tim.
I want to ask him about this throwing angles too. Tim, glad to have you back. We was over here just getting together, talking about some of the things with quarterback play, and we got in and drilled down on some of the things that Baker doesn't do as well. When you look at it from a standpoint, people have in this league have done some things well. Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, they're the poster children for 6 foot and under quarterbacks. Tell us some of the things, some of the downfalls to being 6 foot and under when you're having to find throwing lanes and the rushes coming at you right in your lap. You know, not the outside rush, but the rush in front of you where guys are getting a little bit of push, and now you have to change the trajectory, move around, and try to see downfield. Is that a difficult thing, and what is the advantage of a taller quarterback like yourself that might not be disadvantaged in those areas?
Yeah, I think it is a big advantage for a taller quarterback, just as far as, seeing the entire field. I think when you're a smaller quarterback, I think you can see to the outside really well, outside the numbers, those comeback throws, those out-breaking routes towards the sideline. But in the middle of the field, when it's really congested and you got big offensive linemen and defensive linemen in front of you, you really have to work hard to find throwing lanes when you're a little bit smaller. When you're a 6'5" quarterback, sometimes you can see over those guys. And you don't have to really shuffle as much to find those throwing lanes to see guys breaking across the middle. But when you're 6 foot tall, you really got to work hard within the pocket to find those lanes to get rid of the football from. And if you can, and if you do happen to see them, you still have to change your arm angle to get it over the offensive lineman. Whether you got to come more over the top, you kind of got to throw it around guys sometimes with a sidearm delivery. So you really have to have a lot of the ability to throw from a lot of different platforms when you're that size, as opposed to being 6'5". It really makes a big difference. So, I think it does make it more difficult. But, like you said, we've seen guys make it work in this league with Russell and Drew, who's really, had great careers, at that size. And, it's just, you can either, throw from those different slots and you feel comfortable throwing from different arm angles and moving your feet a lot in the pocket, or you don't. And, we've seen Baker do it at times, and we've also seen him be pretty sloppy within the pocket at times.
Yeah, and to be fair to Baker, obviously he hasn't been in the league as long as those guys. However, those guys were not turnover prone, which he is. Those guys were both well, Russell Wilson still accurate quarterbacks, which he's not, or he hasn't been in the NFL. Russell Wilson's a good athlete. Drew Brees, not really as much, but Baker, like, even when you played, which is not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, Tim, like, I don't know that the athleticism from the quarterback mattered that much. I mean, sure, it matters, but now more than ever, you want your quarterback to have some level of athleticism, and I think he's in the bottom tier in terms of athleticism from a quarterback, don't you? Or no? Is that unfair?
Yeah, I think the game has really changed a lot, as far as, what you're looking for from the quarterback position as far as athleticism. Back when I was playing, it was more of the, the big 6'5", 230, 240-pound pocket passer who was just going to stand in there and take those hits. The Troy Aikmans, Drew Bledsoes, those type of guys that were just going to, be those pocket passers. And now the game has really evolved into, being able to use your legs as a quarterback is such a weapon. And so it makes it so difficult on the defense that, that now teams are really looking for that. Like, he can throw from the pocket, but can he create? Can he make plays with his legs? Baker, he was kind of a mobile guy coming out of college. He wasn't much, he wasn't a great runner, but he could run a little bit and create some stuff with his legs. But, I don't know if it's been due to injury or whatever, but we haven't seen a whole lot of that over the last couple years with him. So, I think that, it's just the position is certainly different. It's the offenses are different now than they were 15, 20 years ago. And you're just looking for more of a dynamic playmaker back there who, that Kyler Murray type of guy who's, can throw from the pocket. He's a smaller guy, but obviously can, he's unbelievably dynamic with his legs as well. But, Baker's not going to be that kind of guy. He's going to be more of a pocket passer, but he's trying to do it, in a 6-foot frame.
So I can say this, and then to Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, I don't know if it's the fact that they played in the Big Ten and bigger linemen. They may be used to seeing bigger setups. I'm not sure what Baker was seeing at Oklahoma, but I will tell you this, right? I'm just a proponent of a person being able to be able to see the entire field so we don't have to manufacture. We have all these weapons, Tim. We have all these weapons, but they're no good to us if we can't utilize them. And if your deficit as a player allow me not to be able to use all my weapons, then you're not helping me. Talk to me about being able to deploy all these weapons we have.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You can have all the weapons you want, but if you're not utilizing them the right way, if a quarterback can't see them or get them to football, then it's useless. But it's been it's been so inconsistent with Baker. We've seen him do it at times, so it's in there. But we've also seen him be just really inconsistent with his mechanics, his accuracy. His decision making, just things like that. And I'm not sure what the cause of that is. I don't know the situation that well, but just watching it as a fan, watching it on TV, you can see sometimes his footwork gets out of whack, which causes the high errant throws, missing guys down the field. He's missed some deep balls, that were there, especially when Odell was around. It's just been a lot of inconsistency, and I think it's due to a lot of times just fundamentals and footwork. It always goes back to the basics as a quarterback when you're looking to be more accurate and those kind of things. It's just getting your feet set, it's getting your eyes in the right spot, and not trying to throw off your back foot. Do all the things that you're taught as a high school quarterback. Sometimes you get away from those things when you get to the NFL and just focus on, I've got a strong arm, I can make that throw. But you can't make that throw without your feet set and things like that. And he gets kind of loose in his mechanics at times.
On top of everything else we've talked about, they're still not done with Baker because they have to face him week 1. I'm going to operate under the assumption that Baker's going to beat out Sam Darnold. I don't think Sam's very good. I think Baker's going to win that job. Now that he's going to be in day 1 of camp, he's going to win that job. So now you have to prepare to face the guy who you've had. It's such a mind-blowing situation, really, that the Browns are in. But really, I want to pivot that just a little bit. And right before we brought you on, Tim, I said I thought Kevin Stefanski did a marvelous job his first year and to basically be able to install his system over Zoom without any extra OTAs, without any sort of mini camps, all video. I thought his first year he was excellent. But it's my personal opinion. I think this could be his most difficult coaching situation yet. You have to heal the locker room from Baker. You have to heal the locker room from Deshaun. And as I said, there's 53 guys in there. I'm guessing at least 1 or 2 of them probably don't really want the guy there, given everything that's swirling around him. You don't know who your quarterback is day 1. Josina Anderson's report today, the Browns have operated on the assumption that they were going to have sort of clarity on this by the start of training camp. That may not be the case. As a head coach, how do you navigate this when you're not trying to get 1, but 2 new quarterbacks to your system ready to go by the start of the season?
Yeah, I think you make great points. It's by far his toughest coaching challenge so far. With everything that's going on, with getting rid of Baker, bringing in Deshaun, trying to get these new quarterbacks up to speed in the new system. It's just a lot of moving parts that he's going to have to manage this season, and it's going to be an ongoing thing with Deshaun. No one knows how long he's going to be, how many games he's going to miss right now. So it's just going to be, getting a backup quarterback ready to play kind of. It's going to be a different looking system when Jacoby's in there than when Deshaun is in there. Deshaun's a guy who's going to make plays with his legs. He's going to push the ball down the field a lot. He's going to be aggressive. With Jacoby, I think it's going to be more of a system where obviously we're going to rely on this great running game. We're going to rely on our offensive line. We're going to ask him to make some throws off of play action. We'll take a shot or two here or there, but for the most part, it's probably going to be a ball controlled offense as far as the passing attack goes. So he's going to really have to, from week to week, depending on when Deshaun is going to be in there, adjust these game plans and get guys ready to go. So it's going to be very, very difficult for him, and also managing the locker room. Like you said, there's going to be some guys that are upset that Baker's gone. Not everyone in the locker room wanted Baker to be out of there. A lot of guys believed in Baker and they wanted him in the locker room. Some guys didn't. So it's just a mixed bag right now that he's going to have to manage, and it's going to be an ongoing thing for the entire season, I believe.
Tim, the reason I love having former players on is because y'all can educate the audience, give them something that they don't really know. There's a lot of misconception out there about the way offenses run. People, I've literally had people come up to me and say, your playbook is trash. And I'm like, well, technically, you put in key concepts and then week to week, you put in brand new plays that you run based on what the other team is doing, right? What you see on film.
Right.
Can you kind of give the fans a little insight into, we've been critical of Kevin Stefanski, but there is no master playbook that you memorize and then you just don't put anything new in or put wrinkles in. Kind of tell them the way the progression works in terms of starting the season, starting with one playbook and some concepts, and then what do you do from week to week in order to round out your plays?
Yeah, for sure. I think, when you first get to training camp, OTAs, mini camps, all that kind of thing, you do put in, your base plays. This is our system. This is how we're going. This is our terminology. This is our blocking schemes. This is our base, packages, our play action, our route concepts we're going to run out of, certain formations, 3x1, 2x2, whatever it is, empty sets, those kind of things are standard. You're going to run those week in and week out with the formations, the personnel groupings, all that kind of stuff. But from every week does change once the season starts based on the team you're going to face. You've got a team that's, going to be aggressive. They're going to blitz a lot. They're going to play a lot of man coverage. Well, you're going to add some new wrinkles to that, especially down in the red zone. You're going to try and get some crossing routes, some picks, some wheel routes, all those kind of things. The playbook is always changing throughout the year. Like I said, you're going to run your basic stuff. That's always going to be there with the addition of some new stuff based off what you're going to see that week, what you're anticipating. So guys have to be flexible with that. Guys are used to it. No matter what system you're in, it's going to change a little bit week to week. We're going to add a few things. We're going to take some stuff out. What we did last week may not be good this week. So, and guys watch film. They're going to say, well, this has been their tendencies over the last 3 games when they get in this set. They like to do this play action. They like to take a shot. They like to do this. So you have to do those tendency breakers as well, because when they see something on film that you do consistently, they're going to jump all over it. So you have to have those wrinkles in there where you're doing something different as well. So it's always changing and ongoing throughout the year.
Man, that's a ton of stuff. Great insight. Hey, Tim, Jason referenced the fact that the Browns really have to get 2 quarterbacks ready, and they're both new. So if you were Kevin Stefanski and the offensive coaching staff, and it's day 1 of training camp, and there's still no resolution on Deshaun Watson's suspension, how would you do it? I mean, because Deshaun's going to be your guy long term, but he might miss 4 games, he might miss 0, 8, might miss the whole season. Without knowing the resolution, if you were the coach, how would you split up the time between Watson and Brissett?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And, the biggest hurdle there is, Deshaun hasn't played football in a year, so you want to get him those reps as well and kind of get him up to speed. He needs to learn this offense because he's going to be your guy going forward, obviously. But at the same time, you got to anticipate he's not going to be there for, X amount of games, whatever that's going to be. So you got to get Jacoby ready too. So it's a very, very difficult thing. I wouldn't want you to deal with what Stefanski's got to deal with this year with this team, with all the moving parts. But if I had to make that decision, if it were me, I'm trying to get the guy ready who's going to be under center week 1, and I assume that's going to be Jacoby Brissett. So I'm going to lean more towards getting him, ready to go and up to speed in the system and getting as many reps as I can possibly get him, because you got to get him ready to go. And if he's going to be the guy taking the snaps, and he has to be, you have to think of him as your starter. He has to feel like he's a starter, and go ahead and prepare him that that's going to be the situation.
So, Tim, let me ask you a question. I'm going to get down in the weeds here. You talk about when Baker's making the swap to Carolina, and the first game of the season is obviously going to be a good matchup between the Carolina and the Browns. So, you ever been on a team where you got players that you play with that don't like you? And so I think there's a number of people on the Browns defensive side who will be looking to tee this thing up against Carolina. Talk about that when you have some animosity in the locker room sometime, and the guy lining up from you, or whether it be basketball, football, like, I've been waiting on you. You're the guy.
Oh, yeah.
You're the guy.
Absolutely.
I've been waiting on you.
You know that. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That stuff goes on. Even in training camp, you get to talking back and forth with the defensive backs and, some of the guys on defense. And, you just get sick and tired of facing your own team in training camp. So there's a lot of smack talking going on. And, those defensive guys are just, they're just wishing you didn't have that, that orange jersey or that red jersey on, where they're not allowed to hit you. They want to tee off on you sometimes because of all the trash talking back and forth. Now they're going to get their chance. And, if, we all know Baker likes to talk a little bit in the media. So I would imagine, going into that game week 1, there's going to be some things said from both sides. I think Baker would probably say some things that's going to fire up the Browns defense. And, I know the last thing I would be doing if I were him was trying to, piss off Myles Garrett. I'm not saying a word that week. I'm going to be complimentary. I'm not saying anything to get that guy motivated, man. So, but it's going to be exciting. I can't wait for week 1. It couldn't have played out any better for a fan, just, as far as the drama goes, just wanting to watch a game like that. It has so much on both sides, especially in week 1. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Tim, speaking of Myles Garrett, we know, like yourself, Myles Garrett loves basketball as well as football. He showed up at Cavs summer league, and he was warming up with the guys there. He played in the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game. What do you make of, obviously he's one of the most amazing athletes we have ever seen in professional sports. What do you think of his basketball game? And it's hard to tell, but do you think he could have possibly been a pro basketball player?
It's hard to argue that he couldn't. He's such a phenomenal athlete. If he was training his body to be a basketball player instead of a 280-pound defensive end, I think the skill sets are there. He's got a nice jump shot for a big guy. He's obviously explosive off the floor. He's got all the skill sets you would want. I wouldn't want anything to do with that guy down low trying to stop him. He's going to be able to move you out of the way pretty much wherever he wants with his size and strength. But I wouldn't put anything past Myles Garrett athletically. That guy is just a freak of nature. If he wanted to be an NBA player, then I'm not going to tell him he's not going to be an NBA player. That's for sure.
Tim, I can tell you this for a fact, and you, as a former basketball player, you know this. There are more people that play football that can convert to basketball than it is basketball players that can convert to football.
Yeah,
and I can
for
just tell, and I'm not just talking about rec guys. These are guys that can play. The things that you saw with Myles Garrett right there, that's unbelievable, right? That's unbelievable for a defensive end to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then you throw in people like Chris Carter that we've talked about.
Yeah.
There are a number of players that can do T.O. that can just get out and get it done, right? So
Baker Mayfield.
Talk about Tim this. How hard is it to do both things? Because when I look at Myles Garrett there, is he doing the Deion double play here? Right? Is he doing, can I do me a little football? Do me a little basketball?
Yeah.
Right? When is the next double play going to be taken up by somebody in this country?
Man, I don't know if it's going to happen anymore. I don't know if these coaches are going to, what these guys are making now. I don't know if they're going to pay Myles Garrett whatever they're paying him and let him go play basketball as well. Just the risk of injury, blowing an ACL, rolling an ankle, whatever, playing basketball. That's the last thing you want with, a guy like that. You want him available to you every Sunday. But, man, it sure is fun to watch his clips when he puts them on Instagram or whatever. It doesn't look possible for somebody that big to jump that high. It's almost like a Zion Williamson type of thing. Zion looks like a big defensive end too out there. So it's just you're seeing a freak of nature when you see a guy with that much power and speed and size that's able to get off the ground like that. It's unbelievable.
You think Stefanski and them freak out when they see him doing it in the warm-up line with the Cavs?
Oh, I bet they can't stand it. They cringe every time he posts those videos.
Definitely scared.
He's jumping up there doing 360s and doing all that stuff. I'm sure they can't stand it. But, Miles loves it. It's what he does in the offseason. So what are you going to do?
Tim, great stuff as always. We appreciate you taking the time. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See you, buddy.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Tim. Great Tim Couch with us. Always great to chat with him. We now go right back to our line because Showtime Shawn Porter is with us.
I know. What up, Shawn?
Look at
I was like, is that Tim Couch?
that. It is Tim Couch, yeah.
You guys got some great guests. I'm not talking about me. Tim is he wasn't that successful with the Browns, but he's still kind of a legend for Browns fans.
Absolutely.
Somehow, some way. Like, he's kind of in our hearts,
Shawn, I think he took more hits than you took in the boxing ring, man. He got the crap beat out of him.
That's possible.
Shawn, there's a lot to get to. First of all, we were just showing the video of, I don't know if you saw it there, but Myles Garrett dunking. Like, Myles Garrett is this absurd freak athlete, and he's getting way above the rim on those dunks. I mean, it's like crazy. What is your best sport? And there's Myles Garrett. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The guy is like a 280-pound defensive lineman.
We do my podcast, the Porterweight podcast. We do it at the Win, and he walked by the studio like 2 or 3 times, and we said what's up and all that kind of stuff. Weren't able to get him in, but I had the thought, like, what's he doing here during summer league? Is he just here vacationing? No, my dude is out there trying to play some NBA basketball, and there's no secret that Myles Garrett is one of the best athletes in the NFL right now, and I think he displayed his NBA talent or basketball talent during the NBA All-Star game, and then you've seen it now. He's basically like, put me in with these guys. I don't know if I can run with the big guys, but I can definitely run with these guys. For me, it was football. I grew up playing football and boxing, and then I'm an overall athlete as well. So I picked up a basketball late, and I hold true to my heart. If I had picked up a basketball any sooner than high school, I might have played a different sport as a professional athlete. So, but yeah, for Myles, there's no telling what he can do on the NBA court.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you talk about like football and obviously you being a world-class boxer, I think the level between a regular civilian and a boxer is the highest level in the world. Like, some guys you walking down the street can play basketball. Some guys they play football in high school. But when you talk about putting them gloves on, like, y'all can't even listen. I'm telling you, y'all can't even touch regular people.
Oh my God!
Like,
you got to see it in person as a fan to know how scary it is.
And like, I'm telling you, like, people say, hey, if you hit me, I'm suing everybody. Like, I'm suing you. I'm suing the hospital.
Here's the interesting thing, and I know that this is primarily why I'm on today. Everybody is gravitating towards boxing. Anybody who wants to challenge themselves and see how much skill, heart, talent, endurance, and the list goes on, just natural ability, everybody's going to boxing now to really challenge themselves. And I think that it's a really interesting thing, because you take a look at boxing, and here in the United States, it's on the lower level in terms of stardom, star appeal. It's not a highlighted sport here in the United States. However, all of the NFL players now, NBA players I've seen, and wrestlers, everybody wants to challenge themselves, and everybody's going to the sport of boxing to do that. I think it's interesting.
So, Shawn, we got to get to this. So, Le'Veon Bell is fighting Adrian Peterson. We've seen a lot of, like, as you mentioned, other sports athletes coming in, and now boxing. So they're fighting at the end of this month. I think we were discussing this last week, and I said I'll take Adrian Peterson. I think you said AP too. I took Le'Veon Bell because he was younger. Because he was younger. What do you make of that, Shawn? Who are you taking in that fight? What do you think?
Who am I taking? That's a great question. My heart actually wants to take Adrian Peterson. When I was in high school, he was like the top running back, and watching him get drafted to the NFL, had the injury and still do everything that he did as an NFL football player. I mean, one of the hardest runners to date. And you say all that, and my admiration for him as a football player, I was like, you got to pull for AP. However, I had an opportunity to go and watch Le'Veon Bell train just last weekend, and I watched him do some shadow boxing. I watched him hit the bag. I gave him some tips while he was hitting the bag. But I'm saying all that to say this: the key thing for me. I asked Le'Veon, I said, "How long you been training?" He said, "I always trained in the off season. I use boxing to stay in shape for football." I said, "Well, how long you been thinking about boxing? Because it looks like he's a little bit more advanced than somebody that just picked it up." I said, "How long you been thinking about boxing?" He says, "This has always been my game plan. Just nobody ever knew about it." And so I'm saying that to say, Le'Veon's got some experience. He's put himself in the realm of boxing, the boxing world, even though it wasn't in an actual fight, but he's been in professional boxing gyms. He's been in amateur boxing gyms, and he's been getting a lot of experience for a very long time. And for me, it's always hard to count out experience, because I know that when you have experience, there's things that are going to happen in the ring. And if you don't have any experience, you don't know how to handle it, you know? So I think it's an interesting matchup. I think physicality-wise, we lean towards Adrian Peterson, but boxing is just not about who's the most physical. So I feel kind of inclined to lean towards Le'Veon Bell.
So, Shawn, last week we all came up with 4 different athlete boxing matches we'd like to see. And we're going to take our what we think are our 2 best from each one, and then we want your opinions on it. I had Trevor Bauer fighting a grizzly bear. We took that one out because I just want to see Trevor Bauer eaten by a grizzly bear. But let's start with Brad. Brad, what are your 2 best?
So, Shawn, I started out, I did Myles Garrett versus Lawrence Taylor.
Oof.
Ooh.
In their primes.
In their primes.
Oh, Lord. Oh, man.
That's a tough one.
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking about LT when he was just that nasty dude, right?
I would take LT. I think LT was a little more agile, a little more athletic. And, of course, we know the mean streak that both guys have. We definitely got to give respect to our own defensive end. But I just feel like it's always hard for me to go up against the OGs in any respect. I don't think that I hold a candle to any old school 147-pound fighter out there, junior middleweight, and I would say the same for those football players right there. It's hard for those guys to compete with the old heads.
Well, I'm gonna give you a second since we're going Cleveland.
LT.
We're off
Here we
Cleveland
go.
here. Let's talk this Cleveland, right? We're gonna go real OG here. Charles Oakley versus Xavier McDaniel.
Oof, that's good.
Of course, I'm familiar with Oakley. We're talking about mean streaks again. I'm not as familiar with McDaniel. So I would have to go with the hometown anyway. So.
Well, you know, Shawn, they actually had a fight. I'm friends of both. I was teammates of both. And they actually had a fight in the Garden. They cleared out the first row of the Garden. And this thing is still legendary. And when I tell you, when I ran up on it, Shawn, all I could, trying to break up 2 friends, right? All I hear was body shots being thrown, and they just went like this.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Not like the guys
You
now.
never see anybody go to the body in a street fight, so that might be an interesting fight to have seen once upon a time. Wow.
All right, Jason, you're up.
All right, Shawn. So I may have misunderstood the assignment a little bit.
No, Jason, you nailed it. Before you even tell you, Jason nailed this for the record.
All right. So my first one was Myles Garrett versus Tyson Fury, because those are 2 of the baddest men I know. And if Myles can just protect himself long enough to get one good punch in, I think it's all he needs is one good shot.
Yeah. You know what? With some training, I have no doubt that Myles Garrett can box with some training. One thing that would hold him back, and historically, fighters never lifted weights, and they always said it made you slow. It's not that it made you slow. When you put on muscle, it for a boxer, you gotta be loose. Yeah. And when you put on muscle, it stops you from being as loose as you can be. That's the only thing that would make me say that Myles can beat Tyson Fury, is the fact that I know that the man has lifted weights for so long, and even though he's so big and so strong, I don't know if he could get loose enough to get at Tyson Fury. But if my man wanted to come to the boxing world, I would not knock him for taking on Tyson Fury. I think that's something that would shock the world, and he could actually do it. I do believe that.
All right, the second one is sheerly for my own entertainment. Nick Chubb against Spirit Airlines CEO Edward Christie, because I had to fly Spirit Airlines home from Vegas the other night, and it was like sitting with barn animals. Spirit Airlines, we're about to lose Spirit as a sponsor, because Spirit Airlines is like putting a Goodwill store in a slingshot, pulling it back as far as it'll go, and letting go, and seeing how far it will make it. It was an awful experience. People were taking off their socks and their shoes before we even got on the plane. At the gate, they're sitting barefoot. I'm like, where am I right now? It was an awful experience. It was horrible. I was forced into it by my other employer.
Sure, it wasn't a Trump rally.
Watch it.
I'm kidding.
So I would like to watch this fight from an ivory tower like Commodus from Gladiator, and just point down and go, finish him!
I said, what? At the risk of also losing a Spirit Airlines deal, I think all of our purposes as flyers is to avoid flying Spirit Airlines.
That's
so that was your fault for being
Agreed.
on that flight, sir.
It was forced on me by my employer. It was the only flight that would fit within company policy.
Grab that black
it was
card,
awful.
use another airline.
Man.
Next time I'll drive.
You're up.
Hey, man, listen. First of all, we got to get to this. And this is the easy money right here. Myles Garrett versus Mason Rudolph.
Why is everybody Myles Garrett? Why is it just Cleveland or?
But because but see, here's the thing. The assignment was we had to pick somebody from the Browns, right? Or Cleveland sports. So you're like, okay, well, I can't pick any baseball players, and everybody on the Cavs are really nice.
Yeah.
And so,
I got one, by the way.
I bet you got one.
And they're gonna get. I'm supposed to have another one here. We already know Myles Garrett wins that one.
But that one's not fair.
That ain't fair. That's not fair.
Let's take G. We got your other Browns one because we thought this was the actual cleanest, most fair fight.
This right here, is this got slugfest written all over.
I think Nick Chubb knocks his ass out in less than a minute.
His work.
The Tasmanian Devil ain't playing with you. He puts work in out here now.
It's true, he does.
Like, he ain't playing games with nobody.
I always tell people who you are outside of the ring is who you are in the ring. And I think it goes the same for any sport. Who you are on the basketball court is who you are off the court. Usually the guys that dribble a lot and have those fancy passes, they're usually the clean dressed and the swagged out, all those kinds of things. In the ring, I believe that Nick Chubb would be very orthodox. He'd be very 1-2. He'd be very orthodox. Kareem Hunt would be a little all over the place. He'd be fainting a lot. He'll be trying to do all these things, and he'd catch one. I love both those guys as Browns running backs. It hurts me to pick one, but I actually would pick Nick Chubb because I think that he's strong. I think he could protect himself, and I think he'd handle himself in the ring. One more thing. They always say, watch out for the quiet ones. And when we talk about the quiet ones, there again, Nick Chubb is the dangerous one in that match.
You know what, Sean? Listen, before we go, I'm gonna swing at the bull, but let's not act like we don't be on here promoting. I got one more wild card. I want Shawn Porter versus Jake Paul. I need to get you that bag, my man. Come on now. Listen, come on down here and get you that bag. Listen, Amazon, put it on Prime. Get that together. Listen,
no. We put it on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. This thing right here could be big, man. Tell us going into it. Let me ask you a question. Can Jake Paul really, like, this ain't no play? You really got hands. Like, I feel like, can you tell them that he can't mess with you pound for pound with them hands? He get hurt out here, bro. Talk to him.
So here, let me do this real quick. For any boxing fans out there, when you watched Floyd Mayweather fight, Floyd did what was called picking his matches. He always announced who he was fighting. There was never an announcement, Floyd Mayweather's fighting so-and-so. It was always Floyd, I'm getting in the ring with. He picked his matches. And because he knew how to work the business. And that's exactly what Jake Paul is doing. He's working the business of boxing, he's picking his matches, and he's doing a phenomenal job doing it. It kind of is what it is. Now he's got Hasim Rahman Jr., who is 12-1 as a professional boxer, But again, Jake Paul is smart. He knows I picked a boxer that really can't do much with me outside of 4 to 5 rounds. And so I think that is going to be a really good boxing match. But I think that Jake Paul, again, has picked a match that he knows he's going to win. If Jake Paul picks Showtime Shawn Porter, would not be the same deal. Jake is too slow. Jake does not have enough experience. Jake isn't strong enough. Jake is not athletic enough, agile enough. There's nothing that Jake Paul can do with Showtime Shawn Porter, which is why you won't see Shawn Porter come get that bag. I don't need that bag.
That's what I'm talking about. You heard it here first.
But hey, I got one for y'all.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward, one of the best, I believe, one of the best defensive backs in the league against Steph Curry, one of the greatest offensive weapons in the NBA. Who wins?
I'm saying Denzel. Ward.
Denzel takes him. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would know better than us.
He sound like Steph.
You think Steph might win?
Curry.
CompuBox. Steph is a sniper. I trust his eye. CompuBox gonna love him. He gonna hit his spots. He gonna be real precise. And when it come down to the card, when it come down to the tape, I got my man Steph Curry.
But can the guards take a blow? Can the guards take a blow? You saw Nate Robinson, who was laid out in that boxing match on the canvas, and Steph Curry tweeted right afterward because Nate Robinson had sent out a thing on top. I'm gonna shock the world, right? That was leading up to the fight. And then when he got knocked out, Steph Curry came back and tweeted immediately out to the public, "I see no lies."
I don't know if Steph can keep a mouth guard in his mouth long enough.
I see no lies.
To go for a full fight.
All right, Sean, I got 2 more for you. Let's get to my 2 here. Again, we got Nick Chubb in the mix. But I wanted a good running back against a good – we got the baseball one first. 2 of the biggest behemoths in Major League Baseball, Aaron Judge and Franmil Reyes. Who you got in that one?
Reyes has been hitting his butt off, man.
He's finally hitting the ball.
He's doing a good job with the Guardians, but I think I would have to go with the MLB player, man. It's something about him. He looks very athletic.
Yeah.
He can hit. No secret that he can hit. So I have to go against Cleveland on this.
By the way, real quick, speaking of big guys, the first time I ever saw boxing in person as a fan was at the Turning Stone Casino outside of Utica, New York. Have you ever fought there, Sean, by any chance?
Been there. The Hall of Fame is up there.
Okay, that's right. In Canastota, I believe, right? Canastota?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I went there. It was a heavyweight match, and this is probably 15 years ago. I can't remember the fighters. They were not great heavyweights. And one guy had been a decent fighter, and he was kind of on the back end, and the other guy was like these were lower level heavyweight fighters, but they were experienced, but not great fighters.
Yeah.
And watching those 2 guys in person, because I was sitting like first row.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, because watching it on TV is one thing. But seeing that in person, and I'm like, these are lower level guys. I can't imagine what the star fighters. Watching it, it looked like every punch they were getting hit with a sledgehammer. And I know they're heavyweights, but just so kudos to you, because unless you watch it, obviously I've never been in the ring and I would get my ass kicked. But just watching it that close, my respect for boxers went up like a million times because I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
I have a friend that attended I have a friend that attended West Point, and I don't know if people know, but boxing is a part of the curriculum. Your first 2 years at West Point is mandatory to take boxing as a class, and that was made mandatory by Teddy Roosevelt way back in the day.
Right.
And that it's still a part of the curriculum. I have a friend who actually boxed. He fought on some world teams and all of those types of things. He turned professional, but he went to West Point. Prior to West Point, he hadn't boxed at all. He said his first time sparring, he was convinced that boxing was fake. He said there was no. He said he couldn't believe there was any way anybody could do 12 rounds, 3 minutes as hard as he had seen. And then, of course, after getting into it and doing it more, he became a professional boxer himself. But it's just one of those things, man. For me, I used track work. I actually used agility drills from football. I played basketball to kind of get in shape. we would run the lines and things of that nature. I swam, biking, running on paths. Boxing is the only sport that you use every other sport just to get ready for one night. And there's no other sport like it, man. And I know that there is an underappreciation for boxing. And I just think that the right parts of boxing have not been exposed enough to the average fan to know, for them to actually have a true understanding of what boxing is.
No doubt. I'm going to blow off my second matchup because I want to ask you about something else too. Like when I was a kid, boxing was, baseball was always my favorite sport as a kid, but boxing was like right there. It was like, I would watch it. When Mike Tyson was fighting, every pay-per-view was must watch. He was just killing guys in the ring until Buster Douglas, and then we were like, what? Nobody even heard of Buster Douglas. I know he's from this area, but like nobody heard of him when he got in the ring with Tyson. We just thought Tyson would kill him like he killed everybody else. But I'm curious because like when I was a kid, and even before that, obviously the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even to the 90s, the heavyweight division was where it was at, right? I mean, like that, there was so many, and it feels like, and I'm not as into boxing as I was. I still pay attention, but I don't love it like I did when I was younger. And I think for me, part of it is because the heavyweight division doesn't seem like it's as good. Is it really not as good, or am I just not giving it enough credit, or they're not like American heavyweights that are really good? What do you make of the heavyweight division?
The heavyweight division carries boxing. While I was very good, and there's tons of guys that are very good at 147, 135, 130. I mean, there's a lot of divisions out there who have multiple guys that are either champions or on the verge of being a champion. But everybody understands the heavyweight division. I actually blame Rocky for that. I think that Rocky made boxing what it was, and it became a thing. If you don't see a big man in the ring, this isn't the boxing that I know, because people kind of grew accustomed to it. I believe, large in part because of Rocky. But excluding that, and just to your point, I think right now boxing in the heavyweight division in America is coming back. There was a long lull of mediocre fighters in the heavyweight division, but that is going away. And number one guy that stands out in my mind is Jared Anderson. He is the next big heavyweight boxer who's going to become a world champion and be a world champion for a very long time. And then I don't know if anybody out there knows Deontay Wilder. He's looking to come back relatively soon as well. He had a trilogy matchup with Tyson Fury that was amazing. You have to, if you want to see great heavyweight boxing right now, you kind of have to look outside of the United States. And nobody here is willing to do that. We're not connected to anyone overseas, So Tyson Fury is the greatest heavyweight of our generation, but I don't think enough people over here in the United States know about him or give him his credit, is because we're not connected to him that way. So the good part about it is the heavyweight division is coming back, and Jared Anderson definitely is leading that charge.
Shawn, great to have you with us as always, man. We'll have you back again before the football season to start hyping up for the Browns. We love the T-shirt. We love having you on. Thank you for joining us.
See you guys later.
All right, thanks, Shawn.
Showtime, Shawn Porter. We were talking with him, guys, about Myles Garrett, and we talked about Myles Garrett and his athletic ability, his ability to play basketball. Brad, I'm curious from your perspective, as a former great NBA player, do you think Myles Garrett could have been a good NBA player? Had he, obviously he would have trained differently than he did for football, but like, could he have played in the NBA? I mean, you never know for sure, but do you think he could have?
I think that you see the athleticism that Myles Garrett shows you, that there's a chance, right?
Yeah.
He has all the freak skills and strength that necessary to say that I can excel. Now, he's out here. Now, they don't have him out here warming up for nonsense, right? Yeah. He has to have a certain level of skill just to be where he is right now. I would just tell you this. Paths are different because the way he's training for football is different than what he'll train for basketball, but I could just tell you that just being able to do the things that I've seen out of Myles Garrett, you just can't walk up and do those. I don't care how many videos you watch, how many backyards you play in. Yeah. He has a skill set about him. Now, is it transferable? I think football players have a very I've been burned, so.
You're scarred for life on that one.
There's a transferable set of skills that they have that I didn't think they had, and they have it. So, I'm a proponent for this. Can you do the double play, right? Because somebody's going to try it, Bull.
Yeah.
Somebody is going to try it.
Right.
I just don't know when and how they can do it.
He looks like, possibly a Ben Wallace type.
Yes.
Of guy who's defensive.
Goon.
He's a little bit of a goon. He's the muscle inside. It's hard to push him off a spot. I saw him. It was one game. It was a celebrity game, but I was watching him like, he's not as advanced in basketball.
Sure, but we're talking about like if he had trained for basketball his whole life.
Yeah, but still, I just don't know that he's to play in today's game.
Yeah.
Could he have played in the 80s? Yeah, probably Charles Oakley.
Yeah, right.
He could play in the 80s and beat some people up. But today's game, what they ask of big men to do and to step back and shoot,
No.
I don't see it.
G, you not buying it?
Stop. No, he not doing it. To be surprising like this, there's guys on every Division I football team that's defensive has dunked the ball like that. All of them dunked that. All of them. Chase Young, all of them. The Bosa's, all of them.
Red's giving you a skeptical eye.
All of them dunk like that. This the new wave.
Yeah, but we're not talking about dunking here. You're talking about playing here. Well, let me tell you something. If I bring a guy off the bench, right, I don't need you to do a bunch of things. I need you to go down and muscle up down here, clean up this mess down here. That's what I need you to do.
I'm gonna tell you.
It's harder and harder for those guys to get on the floor anymore,
Could he do that? No, Jason, I would just say when we went down to the little play-in series down the stretch, right? And then when JB's looking down the bench, he couldn't put nobody in. There wasn't nobody there to put in. He couldn't even help clean up the mess that was down there.
I'll use this example, right? I'll be watching 90s basketball. I just go, YouTube, you watch one game, they just show them to you. I watched the Chicago Bulls versus the New York Knicks. And
Was Brad playing in that game?
he was not playing that game. Xavier McDaniel, his boy, was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this case, I had to be 92, 93.
Yeah.
First time down court, Xavier McDaniels. Shot.
Yeah.
Good. Came down again. Post up. Reverse pivot. Good. I'm like, when did the X-Man have this J work? He came down. This man hit 7 straight jumpers. And I'm like,
So did you know X led the country in scoring and rebounding?
I mean, he was a
Did
great
you know
player,
that?
X-Man.
but his body type,
X is 6'7", slim, but
Yeah, he wasn't
solid.
big like Myles Garrett.
But solid.
So what I'm saying is, Myles Garrett might be 6'5". Them boys, and if you leave a pro open, you're done.
Myles Garrett could physically dominate X-Men.
It all depends on X-Men is rising up over him. When you got that height advantage. If Brad pulling up like this and he up here, you ain't touching that. Myles Garrett can't do nothing with that.
Here, so I'm taking Myles Garrett. Say that Myles Garrett's 6'5", 6'6", right? Sometimes I got to move somebody off the block, down here, right? You
That's
think
a
Myles
problem.
Garrett can move somebody off the block?
Yes.
Get behind, move him. Put him under the lock and key. Control him. And I don't need you for 35 minutes to control
Old
somebody.
school basketball.
Control him.
Could he score 10 points in the Summer League game right now?
Wait, before you guys answer that, Jason, we want to ask that question next, but I want to add one key component to this discussion because it's important.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett is only 6'5". He's a 6'11" wingspan, which does help extremely on the defensive end of the court because he's not the same size as Brad, but at least lengthwise, he does have the length of a traditional NBA 4 or 5.
You see what happened to Anthony Bennett.
He had short
This
arms.
ain't no Anthony
This
Bennett.
guy's a million
This
times
ain't
He had
no
T-Rex arms.
Anthony Bennett. Stop playing with me.
Come on, Jason, talk to him. Jason, talk to him. Anthony Bennett would give Myles Garrett the business, low key. He would give him. It's a difference, man. And he could get about 4. He could get some putbacks. He get a couple putbacks. Goon, he'd get about 6 rebounds. He 4.6
Jason's going to
rebounds.
go and I'm going to throw a
Jay,
little
go ahead,
kernel
go
your
ahead.
way
I don't
afterwards.
know. I was there for Anthony Bennett. He was a disaster. He was a total disaster
old
from
and
day
Polynese.
one. From day one. That's just really hard for me.
Stay off my boy. That's my teammate. Stay off my boy. I got a lot of teammates here. Stay off my boy.
Play with everybody.
But Jason, in a summer league game, we know it's not as serious. We know not everybody's to the same level talent-wise as in the NBA. Myles Garrett plays 20 minutes. Is he getting 2 buckets, 5 rebounds? Is he completely outclassed? What do you think? You were out there this week, so.
He's not. I mean, I don't think he scored 10 points in the celebrity game, did he? Like, I don't even think he got that many then.
So-
Yeah, but he's also like.
Could he get? But he was playing at that celebrity game, All-Star
Well, come
Weekend.
on, a celebrity game
He
is-
was. He was playing.
sweating. He got a good lather going.
He was playing.
Got a little lather.
Celebrity game is a clown show. Stop playing.
No,
So-
not to him it wasn't. Not to him it wasn't.
So let me just tell you this, because
Could he get 2
I
buckets?
just talked about it in the other segment. The job of the coach is to manage situations, right? So I'm gonna give you a situation here,
All right.
Jason. You give me the unicorn, the new unicorn, Chet Holmgren, right?
Okay.
All right.
Oh, but people's obsession with him is annoying. It's crazy.
Put him on the block.
All right.
Right. Miles, you going in
Kick
for
his
you going in
ass.
here for 5-7 minutes here. Get him off that block. Move him up out of here. Make sure he's not a factor. You think Miles Garrett could make sure he's not a factor?
He could rough him up.
Yeah.
Yes, he could.
He could rough him
Isn't
up.
it embarrassing?
So if you could do that.
That's why I called him Ben
So
Wallace.
if you can
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
I have a place for you.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Brad, don't you think it's embarrassing, Jason, guys? Don't you think it's embarrassing, like some media members, that Chet Holmgren, is that his name?
Yeah.
After one game, like it was freaking one summer league game, people were going bananas. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't even pay attention.
And then he
to Summer
sucked
League.
in the second game. But that doesn't matter either. It's
No, it
like
doesn't
it's
matter.
freaking summer
It's a body
league.
of work.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a
That's so
he's
stupid.
got a good skill set, and we're not going off the top on people, over the top on people.
Some people
was
were.
wait-
I was like, this is
Yeah,
crazy.
I was waiting for Jason to give me a breakdown on the kid that has the mullet for the calves. What's his name? Hey, I said, hey,
Luke Travers.
Look,
He hit a nice slam yesterday.
Hey, he had a couple
I mean,
dunks.
Is
Not
that,
a lot
is
of
that Greg
passes.
Kite's cousin or what? I mean,
What's
come
what's
on
your
now.
breakdown on my guy?
My breakdown is he's going to be playing overseas next year. That's my breakdown.
That guy, if Greg Kite and Kurt Rambis had a kid, it'd be that guy. I mean, come on now.
Jason then shipped him back over to Australia. He ain't playing.
Yeah,
over there.
He went to the Greg Kite analogy. I like that's an old school.
Luke Travers will
old
be
school
playing
Bird
in Australia
Celtics
or
right
wherever
there.
next year. He will not be on the Cavs.
But here, so I'm not wanting to discount anybody. I said, you give me a guy like Miles Garrett that has a skill set, right? I can find some minutes for him. Look, he's not no 25-a-minute ball player, right? But if I got 12 guys on the bench and I need a certain thing to go on in the game at a certain time, go on in, son.
Perk.
Go on in, son.
He's Perk.
Yeah,
go
right.
on in,
All
son.
right, let me ask you guys
There
this:
you go.
rapid
There you
fire answers here. We go back to their when they're 15 years old. These two guys,
Yeah.
and we train them for the opposite sport than they currently play.
Okay.
Who's better, Miles Garrett at basketball or LeBron James?
I already
at
know.
football?
LeBron.
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 It's
not
That's all
close.
false out.
It's
I already
not
know.
even close.
LeBron
Don't even-
football.
LeBron could have played day
The
one
only reason
without
I
even
asked
having
is
to change
because
his
it's,
training.
as you said, it's easier to transition to basketball, even though LeBron is one of the few people that's even a better athlete than
I
Miles.
believe could be outrageous. I
Yeah.
believe LeBron probably could have been a Hall of Famer in football if he stuck with it. He could
Probably could have been a Hall of Famer in any sport.
He could have been
right?
a Hall of
I
Famer.
mean,
I mean, you
he
got
could have
to.
played lacrosse.
Miles is a terrific athlete. He's a phenomenal athlete. LeBron is a different. It's a different animal.
He's 6'9". He 2'2". He weighed. At one point in time, he almost made his weight as much as Miles Garrett. Think
True,
about that.
but is he taking the hits? That's the one thing you don't know about.
That's the reason why LeBron is special. The reason why LeBron has played this long is because I played basketball in high school. When you used to playing football and you get out here and it's bumping in contact and under a basketball court, you like, oh, this is nothing. I'm finishing at the rim. You see people when LeBron is trying to grab him around the shoulders and he just shrugs him off like, come on now, man. That guy used to get tackled. It's
All
different.
right, I got another comparison. Delhi in football or Baker in basketball? Who you got?
Neither.
Where are you putting Delhi? Where are you putting him?
This cat,
Long snapper?
Kicker.
Do you see the levels of the pettiness? He went down to get
You gotta
Delhi
appreciate
just
that.
to
You gotta
compare
appreciate
him
that
to
pettiness
Baker.
right there.
Speaking of Delhi, little
Yeah.
nugget, Delhi's working out with the Kings, trying to get back in the NBA.
Oh, really? Good for him.
Coach Mike Brown, who had him in Cleveland when he first came in the league. Delhi trying to make a
Mike
NBA.
Brown's coaching the Kings now?
Yeah, he's the Kings.
Mike
coach.
So
Brown's
he's
coaching
gone
the
to
Kings.
Yeah, he's gone.
basketball
Yeah.
purgatory, huh?
I can't believe he took that job. Like,
Well,
Well, if you want back in, you got to go where you go.
All right, guys. Speaking of football players playing basketball, let's go now to the top five. We got our top five, and it's the top five Browns players besides Miles Garrett that you think could play in the NBA, Mikey. Is that correct?
I'm not sure they'd play in the
They'd
NBA,
actually
but who
make
I
it,
think
but-
would be the best basketball
Okay,
players
very
on
good.
the Browns. And as always, when we do an Ultimate Five, it's brought to you by Roundstone Insurance. Roundstone offers a better alternative for affordable quality health care. For more than a decade, Roundstone Insurance has been saving small and mid-sized businesses money, an average of 20%. Yeah, 20%. Contact us today to learn how you can get great health care benefits that your employees will love and save money too. And this list was tough. There are a lot of guys on the Browns who have the traits to make a good basketball player. So I went one player per position. I don't want to double up on offensive lineman, defensive lineman, that stuff. So one per position, but I'll explain why I think each of these guys.
Joel Bitonio's number one, probably.
Yeah, of course. Why these guys could be good basketball players. Let's start with number 5. Steve, let's take it. Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb offensively may not be great, but defensively he would be, just like the mention with Myles Garrett, an enforcer, impossible to get by, and his lateral quickness would make him an elite perimeter defender.
Think of a less skilled Marcus Smart.
Yes.
I'll buy it.
I would have had him higher, but I guess I got to see who else is on the list.
All right, that works. I just don't think his offensive game, he's as explosive as some of these other guys may be. But all right, let's go. Number 4, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I nailed it. Joker.
Yeah, he would have been on my list. Yeah.
He was the guy who was the first to comment on the basketball hoop at minicamp. So immediately I know he's a hooper. I've seen him take some jump shots. There's videos floating around on the internet of him shooting. Has a pretty jump shot. And he's a freak of nature athlete. He's kind of a tweener for a linebacker safety. But in the basketball world, that's just called a super athletic wing. Give me Joker.
He's a more cleaner Patrick Beverly.
I like this, G. This is a nice little double top 5.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick because he's a freak.
I like that.
He's a freak. He's a transitional type player. He can go in both worlds. You can see it.
All right.
Number 3. We talked about Myles Garrett being an absolute freak of nature. Jadeveon Clowney, also a freak of nature athlete. A little older now, but back in his prime, an elite athlete. And I think maybe more than Garrett. Not as strong, but a little better vertical athlete in his prime to do some of the crazy things he did.
Injury prone, though.
He's a better more athletic than like a Kenneth Faried, same person.
I was thinking Taj
injury
Gibson.
prone too, isn't he?
Yeah, he was good for like 2 years and then just.
What happened to that guy?
Yeah, just
he got paid.
What?
Taj?
No, Kenneth Faried.
Fareed.
He
got hurt.
off.
Then he got hurt.
Just
He
fell
got hurt for a
smooth
second.
Maybe
and
Greg
then
Oden?
Yeah, well, he was good for a minute from Nuggets, man. I was like, man.
All right.
He was good.
Jadeveon's a good one.
All right, number 2, Amari Cooper. I'm going to tell you why on this one. Not the greatest athlete, but footwork. Think of Kobe Bryant and in the post. The footwork to get his shot around anybody, over anybody. Amari Cooper known for his elite footwork on routes. That's how he creates separation to
Did
get
you
open.
just use Kobe Bryant and Amari Cooper in the same
that's a bad
sentence?
Yes,
job
I
out of
did.
you.
In terms of basketball?
Yes, I did.
You should have waited for me. This guy is a less. His field goal percentage is less than. He's a right-handed Michael Redd. Michael Redd never moved past nobody fast. He just got to a spot. He was good. He knocked down
I'm
a
not
occasional
feeling
jumper.
Amari Cooper. Whatever.
Michael Redd's younger brother. That's his JV cousin.
Amari Redd.
Yeah, Amari Redd is a. You see what he did? Bull is putting together these two things-isms, right?
Amari Redd's a hooper.
Amari Redd is
That's
a
a baller.
That's on NBA 2K, creative player. Amari Redd is like he got the Jordan deal too.
Brad, what do you think about Amari Cooper? You know how important footwork is.
No. Stop playing with me.
I think you shot that one
You're
down.
not going to disrespect my sport like that. Stop playing with me.
He hates Amari Cooper's skill set.
Go ahead.
Listen, have you ever
and
have you
number
ever
one-
seen a good? There's very few good players from Alabama that can.
I don't know, Michael Irvin beat the tar out of Adam Sandler on the basketball
Marcus.
court.
Oh, that's
I was thinking about
cheater.
this guy.
This guy may not be on the
Yeah.
Browns opening day roster, but he
I have
was.
no idea who this guy is, to be honest.
He was on Texas Tech, played basketball
Played
on Texas Tech,
basketball.
didn't play college football, was a role guy on their Sweet 16 team this year, averaged 5 points, 4 rebounds per game, got a couple NBA looks, but not big enough to play in the NBA.
He's on the Browns?
He's a
Yeah,
free
he's their
agent.
third string tight end.
Yeah, he played basketball in college. The Browns actually stole him from the Ravens. The Ravens were showing the most interest in him early on, and the Browns sort of plucked him away.
Man, he looked like a mix between like Olivier Vernon and Kellen Winslow.
They going to that old Kent State look for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates.
Antonio Gates.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Antonio Gates, was giving like
Buckets.
to prime time ball players. Like they was just like, I'm like, he's 6'4", and they can't stop him. He had a headband. You know, back then you had a headband, you automatically was good for 10 points. You know, throw a headband on you, the truth.
Antonio Gates.
Antonio Gates, man.
You know, I know you cheated on that list a little bit. David Njoku, I think, could make that list.
I missed that. You know what? Hand up. That is a
Put him instead
massive
of a
miss
Mark
on my
Cooper.
end.
Yeah.
A massive miss
But
on my
but
end.
Mikey said he only wanted one per position, so by putting Santos in there, Santos Silva in there,
It's still a miss. Njoku should be on that
I mean,
list. It's still a
shouldn't
miss.
the guy? Shouldn't we have heard of the guy for him to be on the list?
I mean, he literally
I heard
played
of him.
college basketball.
I don't know where
in
you've
Sweet
been. I heard
16.
of him.
Whatever.
I
No, he's
spent
not
20
making
minutes
the
talking to
team.
him a couple months ago.
Right.
My gosh, she's going to be the ball boy in 3 weeks. What are you talking
That's a
about?
good possibility, but he also has the best chance to make the NBA of anyone on the Browns right now.
All right. And that's the top 5. All right, we got to get to the Guardians here, guys.
And
Go ahead.
before we talk Guardians, though,
Yeah.
we want to make sure everyone knows we are giving away 3 4-packs of tickets to an upcoming Guardians game
This
in
is awesome.
August. They're playing the Astros. If you want to subscribe to this contest, head over to wkyc.com/contest. Click on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Guardians giveaway. We're announcing a winner on May 25th, so act fast. You have a better chance to win if you subscribe to the YouTube page and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram. We'll put up a link to that on this YouTube video. But come on, who doesn't want to go to a Guardians-Astros game in August when they're going to be in the middle of the playoff hunt?
This is the first giveaway in the history of the show, and it's a great one.
Yes,
it's not
it
some
is.
cheeseball prize. It's tickets to go see the Guardians and the Astros, which is an exciting match.
I believe they're
you can
4-packs.
boo the Astros.
I believe they're 4-packs.
Yes.
That you don't
It
just go
is.
by yourself. You
Right.
can bring your people.
And there's also, for the grand prize, some signed memorabilia.
Yeah.
Second and third place just get 4 tickets. Oh, what a terrible Father's Day! Like
a
we're giving
great
away
deal.
12 tickets to a game against one of the best teams in the AL. You don't want to miss out, so subscribe, like us on Twitter, like us on Instagram. Go to wkyc.com/contest. You can see the link on the topic bar right there. We'll put it in the YouTube page. We'll tweet it out. We're going to talk about it every day for the next couple of weeks. So make sure y'all get in on this, and someone's going to win a killer prize.
Yeah, well, 3 people will win, but one person's going to win a particularly killer prize, obviously. So this is really exciting. We appreciate the Guardians partnering with us on this and giving us these the memorabilia for the winner and the tickets for all 3 winners. So, and if you want to invite G and I with you, maybe we'll go. Will you go?
Yeah, baby, if you ain't got nobody else cooler
You got
to go
no
with,
friends and you
I'll
wanna
pull
take
up.
us?
Me and Bull will talk to you the whole time.
Yeah. As long as you pay for our food.
Yeah,
and drink.
you got to pay for the grub, and that's a large ticket.
All right, guys. So a couple things. Obviously, the Guardians are playing terrible baseball right now. They've lost, I think, 14 of 19, I believe it is, something like that. 15 of 19, maybe. This past week was terrible. They lose 6 out of 7 to the Tigers and Royals. But there is some positive we can make out of this bad 3-week stretch. Number 1, 3 guys that make the All-Star team: Jose Ramirez, Andres Jimenez, and Emmanuel Clase. To me, all well deserved. Did they leave out somebody that deserved it? Did any of these 3 guys not deserve it? What do you think?
I'll slow clap on this one. That Francisco Lindor trade, how is that working out for you
By
now?
the way, Lindor has not gone to the All-Star
Why?
game in 2 years for the Mets.
Remarkable trade. And I don't know if I mentioned this when I was in before or not.
Yeah.
If you look at what the Orioles got from Manny Machado,
Nothing
compared to what, and they traded him with a couple months left to go.
Right.
The Guardian, basically, he had about the same amount of time left as what Frankie had here in Cleveland. And the Guardians got Jimenez and Ahmad Rosario. They can flip Rosario, who's really come on and played well after a slow start.
Right.
Rosario's going to get traded at some point, either at the deadline or this offseason. And you got an all-star in Jimenez. Again, Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff knocked it out of the park. Phenomenal trade. I was a little surprised he made it, only because he's not really a name, but well-deserving.
Yeah,
Certainly deserving.
I think baseball does a great job of picking the reserves, not based on big name.
Yeah.
But I do think the rule of having to have one player from every team is a stupid rule. They need to get rid of it. Like the Diamondbacks got this Joe Mantiply, who's like a good, solid reliever, but he doesn't belong on an all-star team.
Right.
It's stupid. I guess the home team, like the Dodgers and the home team, you want to have the home team have a representative, but the Dodgers are going to have a representative anyway. I don't know. Any thoughts there, Brad?
Well, I just think that if you think about the 3 Guardians players that made the All-Star selection into the game, it just goes to speak to scouting, player development, the direction of the club. Again, we're in a middle market team, right? This is not a high-powered organization where you got the big power of money behind you. So everything has to be done strategically. And I just feel like what you got out of the Lindor trade here and the representation we have in the Midsummer Classic here in the Major League Baseball, we got our money's worth. Right now, Cleveland's always going to be a place where you got to develop talent. This is what this is. This is not Broadway. This is not this. This is not that. This is not LA. This is not the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And so we continue to do that. Hopefully we pick off some more. We get some better players. Get somebody to come in. We can add a piece here and there. We can make a run at things. But that's how it has to be done. I think we've done a very good job at doing that.
It's not the only great trade that represents in this All-Star game. The Guardians traded for Emmanuel Clase. They got him from the Texas Rangers for Corey Kluber, who
Fell
I think
apart.
pitched like 5 innings for the Rangers.
Yeah.
The last couple of years he's been awful. This year he's been okay in Tampa Bay. He's okay, but he's not anywhere close to the pitcher he was. And Clase at this point is one of the premier closers in baseball. He's a top 10 closer, maybe even approaching the top 5.
He has the most saves, right? In the American League.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, Clase, I loved the trade actually when it was made because Kluber was, you could see it.
And you had all these years of Clase to go.
Right, and just, I mean, you know, when they made the trade, I said, listen, I'm not trying to compare this guy to Mariano Rivera, but show me somebody else who throws a 100-mile-an-hour splitter anywhere in baseball.
Right.
It's filthy, the pitch that he throws. So I like the trade. You could see Kluber sort of deteriorating.
Yeah.
You know, this organization knows when to move on from guys, especially at pitcher. Corey Kluber, you mentioned with Clase. Mike Clevenger, they trade him. He gets hurt almost immediately. Carlos Carrasco, I did not like including him in the Frankie trade.
Yeah.
And then Carrasco gets hurt and hasn't been the same pitcher since. if you trade with the Guardians, man, no going in, you're probably about to get screwed.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, Lindor's still good. He's a borderline All-Star.
Yeah.
He might still make the All-Star team. But they had to trade him. Well, they didn't have to. They could have spent the money. They weren't going to spend the money. They had to trade him. They did as well as he could. Usually when you trade a star of that level, you usually get screwed in the trade. It's worked out well. A lot of the other guys that the Guardians have moved on from, as you mentioned, Kluber, Clevenger, have not been good. Now, Trevor Bauer was still really good, but there were other reasons they traded him.
Right.
The one guy I could think of that they got rid of maybe a little too early, they thought might have been done, was Michael Brantley. And he's still been a good player.
Something happened with that contract negotiation, and I still don't know all the details. But they wanted him back.
Yeah,
that
Michael
was just.
Brantley,
I mean, the one that they missed on really is Gio Urshela. That's the one that they missed on. But so did the Blue Jays as well.
Urshela's not that good. He's okay.
Well, but that's a bat that they certainly could use in the lineup.
Yeah.
He's better than that. That's the one that, like, I can tell you, the reason Jake Bauer stuck around so long is because of Gio Urshela. Because they felt like, man, we missed on this once. We can't miss again.
That guy's God.
And obviously Bowers isn't anything. But everyone's like, why is Jake Bowers still here? Well, because they missed on Urshela. And they wanted to make sure they didn't miss again. But in terms of just who they've gotten from trades, the Clevenger trade could wind up being the best one. And I didn't like that one very much either at the time because I thought, man, you know you're losing Lindor. Go for it. Just go all in. And even if it's a COVID championship, try and win a championship.
Yeah.
Because you know you're going to lose all these guys.
Right.
But they made the trade, and that one could be the signature move of all of them for Chris Antonetti.
He has just not been able to stay healthy, and
No.
that's going to be an issue. He's getting older now. One other thing from this weekend, guys, Nolan Jones, who 2 years ago was the Guardians' number one prospect. He's not as highly thought of because, listen, in 2020, it was a COVID year. He didn't play. Last year, he didn't have a good season. It was his first subpar minor league season. But I love this guy in the minors. He's another guy, like a lot of their other players, that's excellent at getting on base. His career on base percentage in the minors is almost 400, which is absurd. But unlike some of these other guys they've brought up recently, there's power. He's got real power. He hit that home run, was it Friday? Friday or Saturday? Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
He hit the home run that was like almost 500 feet. He crushed it. He's not very good defensively, but he's got a bat. I like this kid a lot coming up, and I'm excited to see him get an opportunity. He's red hot first game.
He come in stroking the ball.
Yeah.
Look, you know me. This the type of stuff I get excited about because now you got some young dudes with some power. He get on base. He come in the first few games he in the lineup. He looking to be aggressive.
Yeah.
I said, this is what I'm talking about. I need a couple. If you gonna be losing 15 or 19. I want to lose 15 or 19 with these young dudes.
That's right.
Hitting ball like that. That's what I want to see.
He's got to be able to hit left-handed pitching. or else he's going to be a platoon player, and they
Right.
don't need that.
No.
He really struggled. You mentioned his awful year in the minors last year. Really struggled to hit lefties. If he can prove to just be adequate against
lefties,
left-handers, he could be a nice piece for them.
Yeah.
They got to find a spot to play him. Likely
Right.
going to be a corner outfield spot, possibly first, although I think they're happy with Naylor there. So it's really going to have to be a corner outfield spot.
Yeah. I don't love Naylor defensively, but I don't know that he would be any good defensively either.
Well, first of all, Noah had a great debut this weekend, right?
Yeah.
In front of his family, coming to watch him play,
Yeah.
to put bat on the ball, and be productive. But in any sport, it's like this. We're gonna get some tape on you, young fella.
And you got to adjust.
We're gonna get some tape on you and see what you got here, because you got off on us the first day because we didn't know you. We just threw you some smoke, and you smoked us. So now, as you start to make your rounds through the circuit, everybody's saying, turn the video. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we'll see what we actually have.
But he's got to be in the lineup every day, even against lefties. He's got to, he's not going to learn it by playing against lefty once every 10 times.
And this is the problem that they're going to run into. Oscar Gonzalez when he's healthy, Nolan Jones, Stephen Kwan.
Right.
Straw's the one who's got the contract.
Right.
And you can't fit them all. Where are you going to play them all?
Right.
So that's why I still see trades coming
Somebody
probably
leaving.
at the deadline.
Yeah, 3
Somebody's
weeks.
leaving.
We have 3 weeks to the deadline. What is the internet saying about the Guardians All-Stars, Nolan Jones, whatever they're talking about with the
Well,
Guardians?
I love how you guys mentioned trades because we're going to do our own version of Freezing Cold Takes today, brought to you by the internet, which, as always, when the internet comments come to play, it's brought to you by PCC
Who else
Airfoils.
would it be brought to us by?
Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 an hour and up. Plus, get full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. So, as I was perusing through the internet yesterday,
Excuse me.
I came across this tweet. Steve, let's take it. This is a tweet from last year. The Guardians tweeted it out. We've acquired infielder Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, Isaiah Green, and Josh Wolf from the Mets in exchange for Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco.
Did I rip it at the time?
You did not rip it, no, but a lot of people did, and in hindsight, a lot of people were very, very wrong. So I found a couple of the most internet show-appropriate ones I could show, and let's laugh at a couple. Steve, let's take the first one. This is from Ben Noble. This was like a trade in your fantasy league the commissioner should have vetoed.
And 3 people liked it, too.
Next one. I feel bad for the person that had to tweet this garbage.
377 likes.
Who is that guy?
You break my heart more than any woman could. So it's always fun to look back in hindsight because you never know how these trades are going to turn out. You get the top prospects. Sometimes the top prospects turn out to be absolute studs. Other times they turn out to be duds. And in this case, the Guardians hit a jackpot here.
And we'll see in the long term, right? It's still, what if I thought they did as well as they could at the time. I didn't think Jimenez was ever going to be as good as he is this year. I'm impressed. He's doing everything well. So we'll see.
I think it's ironic. I always love looking back at time, right? Last year you could have been skinny, and this year you'd be like, dang, I was eating a lot this year. Or it could be the opposite, right? I was looking back in the time machine, and they just had a Browns photo with OBJ and Jarvis Landry and Hooper,
Smiles.
and they was at Camp Baker, and then all 4 of them is up out of here. Odell Beckham got a torn ACL. Baker fighting for his football career. Austin Hooper is about to move to left tackle in Tennessee, and Jarvis Landry is the 5th receiver in New Orleans. What a year can make.
I was listening to some guy on, I don't even remember what I was listening to yesterday, but this guy was like, I think Austin Hooper's a sleeper this year for whatever. I don't even remember what team he's on right now. I'm like, Tennessee. I'm like, you obviously didn't watch him play. He's like, I love him with Ryan Tannehill, as if Ryan Tannehill's that good.
Okay.
Austin Hooper, you didn't watch him play the last 2 years. We certainly did. All right, and that's what the internet is saying. And that's it. Time for final takes, guys. Brad, you're up first.
Okay. I usually don't weigh in on the commentary from the weekend, but I was doing my landscaping yesterday, and I pulled up Twitter. I didn't know the city was that connected to Colin Sexton like this. I was like, this is like a heated debate here. We had a little discussion on Friday about Colin Sexton and the NBA and the future of the Cavaliers, and my take on it is this, and it has not changed. There's a place for Colin Sexton on his team. One, only if he understands his value. His value to me is not in the starting lineup. And I think that's what the Cavaliers front office noticed. And anybody around the game of basketball that really understands that. He has a skill set. I agree with the people. He has a skill set. He can get you some buckets. But he only gets you some buckets in the right situation, because him in the starting lineup doesn't give me buckets that leads me to wins. He just gives me buckets, right? What if I took this young man and put him on the bench, brought him off the bench?
Oh, you mean the thing I've been saying since he entered the league?
With the second tier crews. He could have longevity. This contract that he's sourcing for out here, right, that he's not going to get as a starter, right? He could get it and then some if you're a proven commodity off the bench. I mean, there's value in being that person. And how do I know, world? Because I'm not speaking to you as some guy who doesn't know. For those out there that had all these opinions, let me tell you something. I do know. I've been that dude. I was that guy, right? I was a top 10 pick, Chicago Bulls in '86, only to find out the business of this league, because the Cavaliers would be foolish if they didn't shop this kid around to see if I could get something better to help my team get better. That's just the nature of the business. A year later, the Bulls did what? They drafted Scottie Pippen, who I saw as a threat to my eating, right? And only to find out, because Scottie and I are good friends, right? There was a value in it. I could have taken my skill set and went to the bench and put a solid reserve off the bench, and there's value in that because the values of the team getting better. Colin Sexton can do that for this team, right? But you have to be you have to be willing to accept the mission and understand the role. Right now, I'm not sure if he understands the role or could accept the mission. So until that time comes, I will tell you this: if I'm Kobe Altman or the Cavalier staff, I'm shopping this kid. He's not even a top 16 two-guard in this league. He's not Bradley Beal. He's not Devin Booker. I mean, we're not talking about, he's not Zach LaVine, right? He has a skill set off the bench. Can you give me 14, 15 off the bench? Can I count on you every night? And can I hide your deficiencies? Because he has some deficiencies. Don't make him a bad player. I like him as a person. But the business of the NBA is this: I got to get better. And then when I don't have the best, I'm always going to search to get the best. So the message to the people out here: keep supporting him, but be clear what this is all about. It's about not getting to the first round of the play-in. That's not the game. Right. The game is getting to the finals.
Good job, Brad. Jason?
Well, I'll stick on the basketball final take, since I just came from Summer League and spent some time out there and saw Kyrie sitting in front of me along the baseline. Didn't feel like talking to me or anyone else in the media, not surprisingly. But Cavs fans, you better get a bottle of Pepto-Bismol or some Tums or Rolaids or whatever is your comfort of choice, maybe some liquor, because it sounds as if there could be a Kyrie-LeBron reunion in L.A. And if this happens, Cavs fans have every right to be furious, because Kyrie single-handedly really halted the Cavs championship window when he asked for the trade. Now, I've on record a million times, I hated the idea of trading him. I didn't think they should have traded him. He had 2 years left, whatever. Fact is, what prompted that trade was the fact that he went to them and said, I want out. I don't want to play with LeBron anymore. Clearly, he has apparently learned the error of his ways. If he's willing to go back, Lakers could win a championship next year. Kyrie's shelf life with an organization is about 18 months before he's sick of them and they're sick of him. That's all the time that the Lakers need to get LeBron another ring. And I think I said it on this show. I expect him to sign an extension, LeBron, a 2-year extension this next month, actually, when he's allowed to with LA. And if he doesn't sign that extension, buckle up and hold on tight, because things are going to get really weird. But if Kyrie goes to LA, the Lakers very much have a chance to win a championship. LeBron's not going anywhere. And Cavs fans have every right to feel slighted and spited, because they absolutely could have beaten the Warriors in 2018 had Kyrie Irving stuck around and played. The Warriors were fragile. It was not the same team. They're already showing cracks. I wrote it at the time. I said it at the time. This is not the same Warriors dynasty as we saw the previous year. And it's just unfortunate that if it turns out this way, I'm going to feel a little queasy and gross about it. And I think every Cavs fan has a right to as well. I don't want to see those two. I love LeBron. I've had a great relationship with him, obviously. But I don't want to see those two team up and win a championship for LA. It just doesn't feel right for Cleveland.
I agree. I hope it doesn't happen, but
yeah. I think it's going to. I do.
Well, then I'll be rooting against them. And I haven't rooted against LeBron, but I'll root against them. I don't want them to win.
I guess we're going to have to make this thing 3 basketballs in a row. 3 basketballs in a row. And in the words of the OG, my OG, Uncle Brad, he told us early this year, hey, the chickens is coming home to roost. You see, we just talked about LeBron and Kyrie, and this movement, player empowerment, has been a thing. LeBron ushered in that era of player empowerment, but I will say to a certain extent, LeBron has been wise with his power. He learned his mistake from the decision. He realized when you got great power, it comes with great responsibility. But a lot of these other young cats don't get it. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they bouncing back and forth, telling guys, "Oh well, I'm gonna leave here," and James Harden, I might go here, but we open and playing together outside of Brooklyn at another place. These owners is giving up all their draft capital. The owners is letting you go and come as you please. Guys is allowed hanging out. Dudes just not showing up to practice. And now they got a thing called player maintenance, where you just not even playing. So kids in the smaller towns, the Milwaukees, the Indianas, and the Charlottes, you ain't even showing up over there. They just want to see their favorite dudes play. But now, it don't seem like that's the important part of the game. When this collective bargaining agreement come back up, they are going to want to grab back some of that power. I'm gonna let y'all know right now. And don't be alarmed when they all sitting at the table saying, this is what you signed up for. And we said we was gonna partner with y'all and get y'all where y'all wanna go, but you didn't do your part. So now we gotta renegotiate. And that's where the chickens is gonna come home to roost.
Well said, G. A lot of basketball talk. We're going to end that right now. Enough. Enough with your hoops nonsense. Let's get to the entertainment industry. You know, a few months ago, Ray Liotta passed away, right? An actor who played, of course, in Goodfellas. In the last few days, we've had two other guys that are famous for playing mob roles pass away. First, the great James Caan. I think we got a picture of James Caan. There he is. James Caan, known for a lot of roles, including The Program, with Showtime Shawn Porter mentioned. Of course, famous for being in the movie Elf, which a lot of people saw.
Las Vegas.
Brian Piccolo.
That's right.
He was on Las
Brian
Vegas.
Piccolo.
Brian Piccolo, of course. Good job out of you, Brad. Another sports movie. And, of course, he was in The Godfather, the original Godfather movie. James Caan, I actually had a chance to interview him over the last couple of years on the radio, and he actually broke news on our radio show by saying that they had all the plans to make an Elf 2, and then I don't even remember what happened, but it got picked up, big story. And finally, over the weekend, Paulie Walnuts, Tony Sirico passed away. Did you guys know this?
Yeah.
Did you guys watch The Sopranos?
Yeah.
Were you Sopranos watchers?
Yes.
I'm a Wire guy.
I love The Wire, too.
I'm married to an Italian from Jersey City. Of
Yeah.
course I've seen Sopranos.
Now, Tony
Greatest of all
Sirico,
time.
who played Paulie Walnuts on The
Wire.
Sopranos, was actually in the Mafia before becoming an actor. And then he went to jail, and he, left the life, and he joined the life on TV. Now, there's some people, including people I know, that get so bothered that people enjoy movies about the Mafia, movies and TV shows. I love it. I can't get enough. Documentaries, movies, give me everything. It's a fascinating life that I love to learn about. But beyond that, guys, The Sopranos, which Tony Sirico, of course, was one of the key characters. James Gandolfini, of course, died a few years ago. The Sopranos changed television, okay? Before The Sopranos, there was two other shows on HBO, one called Oz, which was a good show as well, and then Arliss.
Yes.
But before there were shows on HBO, the only TV shows were on the networks. And most programming on the networks are for cheeseballs, right? They're cheesy. There's no continuation of the storyline. It's Chicago Med and Chicago Fire and Law and Order and Law and Order Special Victims Unit. It's cheesy comedies and cheesy dramas. HBO changed the game. Arliss was a good show. Oz was a good show that went off the rails. But Sopranos was a magnificent show. It had one bad year where Tony was in a coma, but we could ignore that year. Then they progressed with The Wire, which, along with Breaking Bad, to me, are the two best shows ever, and Sopranos, top three. But it changed TV. Now you have HBO, you have Showtime, you have Netflix, you have Amazon, Disney, which are all putting out excellent programming, certainly much better than we're getting on the network TV stations. So farewell to Tony Sirico. He was phenomenal as Paulie Walnuts, and we're never going to see him again.
I have to step in like stat boy, Tony. Bad job out of you, boo. Are you forgetting Sex in the City? I mean,
Was that before Sopranos?
I mean, it was one of the biggest shows of all time.
You sure that was before The Sopranos?
It was on at the same time concurrently.
Okay.
And we
Yeah,
forgot
but
that
Sopranos really I don't know. You like Sex in the City?
I didn't say it was great. I just said all the other people said it was hot.
Popular, but I just feel like Sopranos put really TV shows on premium channels on the map. Right. That was the big one.
And in the words of the great Marlo Stanfield, my name is my name.
Okay.
The Wire is awesome.
Yes.
Does it feel dated if you watch it now, I wonder?
Sopranos, no.
Wire.
Classic.
By the way, if you like The Wire, there was a mini series on HBO, which of course I can't think of the name now. I'm gonna have to think of it off the air. Whatever. That's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Jay will be back.
Aditi
will be on. Who else, Mike?
It's just Aditi, but we have Jay back. We're going to do a little Judge Jay, special Judge Jay. Plus, one more reminder, WKYC.com/contest for the Guardians tickets. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. You're not going to want to miss out on these things. It's the Astros, guys, the Houston Astros.
Great giveaway.
Yes, it is.
So, tomorrow, big show, and Bull, excuse me.
Yeah.
Your best performance yet in the host chair.
You think so?
Kudos. Yeah, absolutely.
We Own the City, by the way, is the name of the show. It also takes place in Baltimore. It's also cops.
Okay.
And it feels like The Wire. It's a mini series, 6 episodes. It was great. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for everybody contributing. As I got to be in the host chair for a week, and Jay will be back tomorrow, as I said.
Jay, drop that anchor, baby.
Rest in peace, Stringer Bell.